Here we are, the ICAG syllabus, and we have to look at strategic case study, which is the last paper in the IC curriculum. Now, we have to understand some things. What is the aim of your paper, the strategic case study paper? You must know the aim and objectives and how you are going to be assessed in the exam. Now, it says the aim of this module is to enable students to understand, one, the word there is understand, two, and apply tools and models, okay? So you must understand and you must be able to apply tools and models to develop skills in strategic analysis, choice, and implementation. So your whole syllabus is made up of three main areas: strategic analysis, strategic choice, and strategic implementation. If I may explain it in a simple way, as an individual who has a life, right? In his life, there's a place he is now, where he is, right? So where we are, that's what we call strategic analysis. What is your current position? What are the resources you have? What are the opportunities and threats you face within the environment in which you stay as an individual? That is your life, right? But there's a particular place you want to go. You get it? You want to go. So there are some options available to you in life. Maybe you want to go into a particular career, right? What options are available to you and which one are you going to choose, right? A business also has the same life. It has to make choices, right? Because there will be some options, strategic options, and the business has to choose from it. Now, when this person decides to choose from these options, he must implement it, right? Work on them, put into consideration, are you getting it? Or bring up some action plans. You get it? So the whole purpose of your paper is to teach you these three things: where you are, where you want to go, and how to get there. That is all about strategy. Where you are now, strategic position; where you want to go, strategic choice; and how to get there, strategic implementation. You get it? So once you know it like this, then what frameworks are you going to use to make sure that you are able to achieve these steps? You get it? That is what now your syllabus breaks down bit by bit. I will take you through this and we will equally go into the examiner's document to see the things the examiner particularly wants you to know and understand. Is that okay? So yes, these are the three main things which I want you to write down. Write it down. Before you see the paper, you must know everything about strategic analysis, strategic choice, and strategic implementation. It says here that students will become competent in the use of management information. Okay, there's another word there, which is very important, which I think a lot of students ignore. When we talk about management information may be financial in nature or non-financial in nature. Please remember that. Management information may be financial in nature or non-financial in nature. So this paper is a combination of almost all your papers that you did from the lower level. So it encompasses a lot of financial management and management accounting, business management and information systems too, as well as little bits of corporate reporting, law. So it's a mixture of everything, right? But the key areas are more related to business management, financial management, and management accounting. And anything that requires management information could be financial or non-financial. I just taught you that. Now, you need this management information to measure, one, and monitor strategic performance. So you see here they say, well, strategic performance. No, performance is different from strategic performance. Why strategic performance? You need to know the performance, your performance that is able to help you achieve what, or have, or create a competitive edge. When we say somebody has a competitive edge, it means that he is doing something which his competitors cannot do, right? So if you are performing very well in a particular business you are in, we need to have some models to help us analyze, I get to evaluate your performance, whether you are doing what you are supposed to do, okay, to achieve that competitive edge. Now, a comprehensive review, the word there is what? Comprehensive review. All these things are keywords you need to understand. Will be undertaking of good governance practice. That means every night you should be expecting something on strategic performance, good governance practice, which will all be developed within an applicable ethics framework. That means governance and ethics are key things every student must understand. And I think this is what is making students fail every night. If you could agree with me, a lot of people never know what they are going to examine in corporate governance. Like last night, it took them by surprise. If you look in the syllabus, it's obvious that you should always be expecting OECD model most of the time, but people always ignore it. You get it? It came. It took people by surprise. Ethics came. Where they took it from, it took people by surprise. That is basically every way. So every time I start class, I tell people that as we are doing our normal class, you just be reading the ethics and the corporate governance. You just take it as your Bible. So most of the time, at the end of my classes, most of the time, I usually don't worry myself talking about corporate governance and ethics, because it is something that every student is supposed to take as his Bible, because whether you like it or not, it will be there. You know, there are some things that you can hopefully say this thing will always come. Why don't you prepare yourself so well around that area? And students will wait last minute, then they want to cover everything. It will not work. It will not work. You get the idea? So, your exam is an advanced exam. And most of the time, sometimes I show students in my class how easy our strategic case study is compared to SEMA and Institute of Chartered Accountants Nigeria. I mean, their case study is so difficult. If you yourself, you see the question, 40 page pre-scene, 40 pages pre-scene analysis. And Charlie, you can imagine 40 pages pre-scene analysis. ICA, your mom 13 pages, 11 pages, and still people are complaining. To some extent, you should see ICA students are not learning as they should. It's not enough. Trust me. I'm telling you the truth. If you look at our time, the effort we're putting into write advanced financial management and other papers, and now it's like people are too relaxed. Sometimes when the papers come, I look at it and I'm like, and people are complaining that this thing is difficult. People are not learning enough. For me, I'll tell you the truth. Seriously, people are not learning enough. If you put in extra effort, trust me, the result you are going to achieve will be amazing. All of you are geniuses. You just need to put in the effort. The efforts most people are putting in are just not enough for this paper. The examiner always writes it, and the examiner always says it, that your answers do not seem enough. People do not explain enough. You see somebody doing ratio analysis, even when there's a passage, he's just saying this might be due to inflation. Meanwhile, there's no inflation in the question. So if some of all these things are happening, imagine.
Recording in progress.
Please mute. Please mute. Who are using double devices is distracting the class. Okay, so these are some of the things you must understand. So even within the preamble of the syllabus is telling us, you see, I'm highlighting keywords, evaluating what? Complex scenarios. You see, it has told you, yes, the scenarios are going to be complex. So you should be prepared. It is not easy scenario you are going to see there. Complex scenarios. If we say something is complex, it means that it has different headings, or it has different compartments. So it's complex, it's not simple, right? So you should have this in mind, and it will be a feature of the model based on what? Complex data, financial and stakeholder analysis. So they've told you, you are going to meet complex data, you are going to meet financial information, you are going to meet stakeholder analysis, including making recommendations. And this is the weakness of students. A lot of students always ask, you are joining a class. What do? You mute yourself before you join. We always say this thing, and still people don't listen. If you have any question, you just put up your hand. I'm unmuting everyone. You cannot mute unless you have a question. So basically, this is what you have to understand. You see, I've highlighted keywords: analysis, choice, implementation. We are going to use management information. We are going to measure and monitor strategic performance. A comprehensive review will be taken of good governance and ethics. And also, we'll evaluate complex scenarios. We are going to use complex data, financial and stakeholder analysis, and make recommendations. And I've told you that making recommendations is a weakness of students. You get the idea? And you will be expected to apply 1, concept, 2, principles, and theories from the knowledge and application levels of this syllabus. So everything you did in level 1, and level 2, most of them will be assessed in this syllabus. You see, some students are now doing case study. They have no idea of management theories. They have no idea of marketing. So they go, marketing comes, they'll be like, this thing, I didn't expect it. Yes, it's because when you took exemption, you didn't go back to see what was in the previous syllabuses. That's one mistake I see students and a lot of students make. If you take exemption, even if you are not going to learn, go to the other courses you didn't take, and just go and look in their syllabus to see what was there and compare it to your new syllabus and see if the same things are there. What is the relationships? If you think there's something that this thing is here and was at level 1, that means this is a bit advanced. Let me go and see what was in the level 1. That is why when you pay for exemption, they write that it is assumed you have done it. That's why they grant you a paper exemption. It is assumed you have done it in your course before you came. So if you study, the reason why a lot of people fail corporate reporting, 1, is because of exemptions. Fail case studies because of exemptions, especially level 1. It is the main reason. The others are inadequate preparation. These are the 2 main reasons why people fail the paper. So I've already given you a gist of the things you are supposed to know. Analysis, choice, implementation, management, information, strategic performance, governance, ethics, complex scenarios, financial, complex data, stakeholder analysis, making recommendations, application of principles, practices, concepts, theories. Okay, so even ICA has even considered students. They've made the case study now more theoretical than practical. So if you have learned in Kwadi, you should pass. If you have failed the paper, it means you didn't learn enough. I didn't say you didn't learn. You didn't learn enough. So this time we are not taking that chance. At least this last time, no. So let's look at the assessment approach. The examination will be a 3-hour paper consisting of 2 case studies. Now, if you have realized, you always have 2 case studies, but it's all based on the same company, right? One being one that you will see before the paper, and one being one you wouldn't see. Okay, so 2 case studies. It should have been 50 marks each. Now, the case studies may be based on a different variety, also a variety of different organizational structures or operations. We've seen 2 new words, different organizational structures or operations. So this is telling you that you will have variety of businesses to deal with. And that means organizational structure is key. And students will be provided with background details, which is the advanced information or what you call pre-scene, of the organizations in the respective case studies ahead of the exam. So 2 weeks before the paper, this is enough time to make you pass. Now, the advanced information will not give specific indication of the eventual requirements of the case study. Yes, nobody will give you, but there are clues. Okay, there are clues that you can use to guide your own self. Students will be expected to familiarize themselves with the information provided about organizations and the industry in which they operate. This is what students fail to do. Pre-scene bar, everybody is expecting a tutor to do pre-scene analysis for them. Very bad approach. ICA, very, very bad approach. You are supposed to do your homework first. When you come, whatever analysis the tutor is doing is just a plus for you. But what do ICA students do? They will not learn anything. Some of them, even as at the time of pre-scene analysis, they haven't even read the case. So they are solely dependent on what the tutor is giving. Remember, the tutor is not God. Neither is he the examiner. He can only assist you. That means if you yourself do not put in the effort, it is not enough. So please change the mindset. If you want to pass this paper, you have to learn. There's no apport anywhere for anyone. Learn and prepare. Me like this, if I'm even giving apport, I hide it in the things I say. It wouldn't be obvious. So those who are smart will always get what I say. Those who do not listen and they take things bluntly, they will not get what I say. Because most of the things that will be said will be hidden in code words. So if you are there, you will get it. That is the way it is. So prepare, learn. That's why you attend classes for all that time. You should have prepared enough. So everything that comes at the end is just a plus for you. Being able to identify particular models which are necessary and putting in the efforts that is required. That is all that is required of you. If only you can do this thing, then you do not have any problem. Okay. So you have to undertake a detailed analysis of the advanced information and some additional analysis and research where necessary. Make use of Google. That's why Google is there for you. Google SWOT analysis for petroleum industry. You go and check, you pick some points, compare it to the organization that is given. Is it okay? Do I see those same things inside? Not so. You go maybe financial weaknesses of maybe petroleum industry. So you do all this risk space, 5 forces. You see, you try all these scenarios and compare to the case study before your lecturer even does his. It will be a plus for you, right? You will be required to answer questions relating to the final case studies during the exam. And the questions will be crafted based on the syllabus grade. So the whole trick is knowing the syllabus grade and what will come there. And now, the syllabus grade is very funny. Let's see. You see, when you come here, we say your strategic objectives, 10%, which is literally 10 marks. We have been able to analyze internal and external environments for 10 marks, application of strategic models for 10 marks, organizational structure for 10 marks, business plans is where we have the biggest marks so far. You could see that business plans cover 20 marks. And in your syllabus, business plan entails so many things. One, it entails operational strategies, or what we call functional strategies. And this previous diet, instead of telling you to prepare a business plan, they asked you production strategy and HR strategy. It's part of the business plan. You see where they took it from. So if you're a student, you should open your eyes and just be ready to deal with whatever you have been given. That is what people fail to do. You get the idea? So yes, they took it from there. Now we will dive deeper into the syllabus and you will understand some things. Now, when you look at these areas, we have financial strategy objectives for 10 marks and financial strategies themselves for another 10 marks. Corporate governance theories for 5 marks, corporate governance in Ghana, 5 marks, OECD principles, you see it's on its own. So I tell students, immediately I start every syllabus walkthrough. If you have watched all my syllabus walkthroughs before, you realize that always when I get here, I tell you that this thing is always skunk. There's no way you sit the case study exam without understanding OECD principles or the code of best practice. It is skunk every time. But people still do not know. They'll be like, I didn't expect this. Why? It is obvious in the syllabus. You have trodden that. It's not that it was hidden. It was on the face of the syllabus grade. OECD principles of corporate governance. Even if you haven't learned corporate governance, that thing you have to know. Corporate governance theories. It was obvious in the case. It is always there. This thing, so me, I don't worry myself teaching it. It's there for you. They've told you. Go and look at it. You go and it comes. Last night's paper, when I saw the paper, I was like, wow. Of course, very simple. If you have learned, if you haven't learned, it will take you by surprise. I see a student have an anthem. Oh, may change the trend. No. Immediately a paper, Charlie, I see has changed the trend. So let me ask a question. What trend exactly have they changed? What trend exactly have they changed? Because every day people are like, they've changed the trend. Corporate reporting or what, they've changed the trend anyway. So apart from that, you must know how to improve governance in organizations, and that's 5 marks. So if you should put all the corporate governance together, it's 20. You could see financial strategy, you put it together, you see 20. But this 20 that you are seeing, the funny thing is that the finance is not just 20, it's spread across because this is an accounting-based paper. So it's spread all across. What's the OECD about? Oh, it's principles of corporate governance, like code of best practice that organizations are supposed to follow, which is worldwide, right? So like the treatment, right or equitable treatment of stakeholders, role of the board of directors, those kind of stuff. And it's in the ICA required study text. You can look at it there. So let's look at the things that go into the various syllabus references. When we see syllabus reference A, it said we should evaluate strategic objectives for a specified scenario. Now, here is the introduction to organizational strategy. We have to know what strategy is. And ICA, being more theoretical now, can ask you the definitions according to the various definitions, right? We have definition of strategy by Peter Drucker, by Charles Handy, by David. There are a lot of strategists, right, who have come up with the definition of strategy. And when you look at the ICA book, all these definitions have been given. So if I should give you a summary, right, strategy is just what? Your long-term plan that you have what? Your long-term direction and scope and how you want to achieve it. The how is the strategy, right? Taking into consideration three things. That's what I'm summarizing for you. One, the environment which you have, right, which you are into, the resources which you have, and finally, the expectation of stakeholders. So this is a summary of the whole strategic analysis. Now, anytime you want to pass strategy, these are the three main things which you should consider. The environment, resources, stakeholders. When you know this, because definitely questions are going to come from here. And resources may be internal. Remember, internal strengths and strengths and weaknesses are all from resources. Your organizational strategies, your value chain, procurement, production, human resources, technology, they are all from your resources. Then do your stakeholders approve of your current position or where you want to go? That is it. So when we talk about strategy, if this is an organization, right? Let me write ORG here. And this is organization's objectives, right? Remember, I need a vehicle, right? A vehicle to travel from here to there, right? So the vehicle that helps me to travel from where I am now to where I want to go is what we call strategy. We said a plan is what? Establishing your objectives and showing how they will be achieved. So the how to achieve those objectives is what we call strategy. So strategy forms part of strategic planning, remember. So if I want to achieve something, the steps to which I use to achieve that thing is what we call strategy, right? Now, strategy in an organization, they say we should look at the levels of strategy. It's divided into, you could say three, but functional and operational are in tandem because functional can still be broken into day-to-day operations, which we call operational strategy. So we have three main. We could say we have corporate, business, or service strategy, functional strategy, or sometimes we say operational strategy. Now, the corporate strategy is the long-term, the long-term strategies, right? That tell us where we are and where we want to go. So for instance, which businesses should we go into? What markets should we enter? What product portfolio should we manage, right? Here is at the board level. It's the board of directors who take these decisions, right? Now, when they finish these things, they simmer it down to the business level where we have divisional heads. Now, these divisional heads, what they do is that they now implement what these people have brought by focusing more on competition, right? And how to gain competitive advantage. So here it's more about what? Obtaining competitive advantage and sustaining the competitive advantage. So yes, you could have businesses which have got something their competitor does not have. But the thing is, you've got what I don't have, but can you sustain it over the long term? You see, a lot of people do not think about the sustainability. Once they get a thing today, they think it will be there, but you need to sustain it. And that's what you need to understand, business and service strategy. Now, when you have understood these things, you need to put people to work, right? The day-to-day management, your departmental heads, because it comes from functional. This is where we have our HR, we have our production, we have procurement, we have what? Finance, we have what? R&D, strategy. So all the strategies that these divisional heads take are what we call functional strategies. Then these people assigning it to people down their level, like their subordinates, is what we call the operational strategy, which are the day-to-day strategies. You get it? So for instance, if I'm saying finance, okay, we wish to produce 5,000 soaps, right? But we need finance. These guys will draw the day-to-day Excel sheets and the daily plans, the cash in, cash out, and all that, right? The foremen, the supervisors, those are all the day-to-day operational strategies. Is that okay? So once you have understood this, you have the general idea of strategy. I've actually taught you in a summary, right? These are the things you need to know here. And what are the key characteristics of strategic decisions? This is another particular question that you can be asked, okay, at this level. So still under syllabus reference A, this is where we come to what? Factors that drive and influence our strategic objectives. The first is maximization of shareholder value. And this is the main reason why businesses do exist. This is the main reason why businesses do exist, or we could say this is the primary financial objective of every business, right? Why do we say so? We say this because the person who established his business didn't create it just to make profit, but to increase his wealth or his value. So this is the main primary objective. Now, this has a financial implication. Anybody who decides to maximize shareholder value, first of all, what is shareholder value? Shareholders get value from two things. One, it's either you give them dividends or you give them what? Growth in their share price or the market value of the company, which we call capital what? Growth or capital gains. So we are saying that yes, when you maximize shareholder value, then total shareholder return is supposed to increase, and that's the sum of your dividend yield plus your capital growth. Okay, so that is maximization of shareholder value. Now, if this is the main thing you want to do, then how do you do it? You must establish a vision and a mission. So the vision is the future prospect or the future picture of yourself. Then when that vision is documented, it becomes a mission. So every organization must have a vision and a mission, right? The mission is your purpose, what you want to do. Now, this mission, when it is written into a documentary form, we call it a mission statement, an overall statement of purpose. And every organization must have a mission. Now, this mission has some particular components which every student has to know. Okay, so there are various elements, but if you look at the four major components of a mission as established by Charles Handy, we have the purpose of the organization, the strategy, the policies and standards, and finally the shared values, right? So we are saying that yes, every organization's mission should speak about these four major things. If you're able to speak about these four major things, that means you could criticize any particular mission that they've given to you and see where there are weaknesses or where there are strengths within that mission. I hope that is okay. So once you have been able to know this, remember, mission also comes with objectives, because remember, your purpose comes with an objective you want to achieve. That is where we go into what our objectives, to say that, okay, every organization must have goals, okay? You must have goals, which stems from your mission. But these goals, I can break them into two. The ones that you aspire to achieve, that is your aspirations, or what we call your aims. Now, let me ask you something. If you just say, I wish I was a chartered accountant, this is just an aspiration or an aim. There's nothing attached to it. So we say this is what? A qualitative goal, right? Because this one, you are just aspiring to be. However, if I say I want to become a chartered accountant in the next 3 months, scoring 67% in strategic case study and studying every 4 a.m. every day. You see, it's more specific, right? So the more specific goals are what we call what? Objectives. Okay, so the objectives are the more specific. So we call this quantitative what? Goals. I hope you are learning something. So those ones are what we call what? The quantitative goals. Now, these quantitative goals, when they are broken down, I get in it, they become targets. Or if you are doing projects, we call this milestones. Makes sense. So definitely, you break it down from your mission to your overall goals, and these goals, can be broken down to objectives. Remember, these objectives, there are even some objectives that when the business focuses on, it can become most successful. The objectives that when you focus on, or the goals that when you focus on, is going to make you the best of the best, and it is critical to your success. We call those goals, the most pressing goals, we call them critical success factors, right? Critical success factors. If you've heard them before, CSFs. So these are the most pressing objectives, or the most pressing what? The most pressing factors that will make you successful. So we call them critical success factors. Do you get it? So we are saying that, okay, of all the objectives that I want, which ones are critical to my success? And if I focus on them, I can easily be successful. But wait, how do you know you've been successful? Because you said, okay, let's say I want to achieve safety in an airline. I know when I focus on safety, reducing safety or increasing safety in my airline, then people will what? Come and buy tickets, right? People want to travel. But how do I measure, or how do I know whether safety has been achieved? I must put some metrics in place to measure safety. And that is what we call key performance indicators, right? Key performance indicators. So you are telling me, okay, I want to achieve safety in the airline, but then how do I achieve that safety? I must measure the safety. One, I can use what? Some measures like how many accidents have happened at the airline? What are the number of robberies? What are the number of plane crashes, right? What are the number of passengers who have declined to use our planes? What are the number of faulty planes? You see, I'm using something to measure my performance, measure what? The critical success factor, which I called safety. I hope it is making sense to you. You see, these things are practical and they are interesting. Now, even these key performance indicators, there could be financial indicators and non-financial indicators. So these ones, you could see they are more non-financial in nature. But if we are talking about financial indicators, we could be using things like ratios. Those are the common financial indicators, or divisional performance measures like ROI and RI, EVA, okay? We could be using those ones, but the non-financial ones could be anything that stems from number of complaints, number of accidents, plane crashes, and the rest. Okay, so when it comes to mission and vision and objectives, these are the main things that ICA can never ask you about, and I hope you learned something. Now, from there, we have to look at the impact of stakeholder expectations in development of what? Your organizational objectives. Now, in simple terms, what do we mean here? Remember that we had some objectives, which are quantitative goals. Now, the goals that you've set, remember that there are some people who are interested in your operations. We call them stakeholders. Now, stakeholders can be categorized under three main headings. Mostly in ICA, they prefer that. Actually, it depends on where you are coming from. Stakeholders, there are many categories of stakeholders, but ICA prefers the common type, which is the three categories of stakeholders, right? So we have those who work within the organization, which we call the internal stakeholders, right? So the internal stakeholders, you are literally talking about what? Management, and then the subordinates, which are the staff. Remember, management is still staff, but it's just the senior staff. Then we have the connected stakeholders. So connected stakeholders are stakeholders who are actually interested, but they are not directly in the organization, but they have some sort of link or connection or contract with the company. So you are talking about things like what? Your customers, your suppliers, your lenders, also your shareholders, also your bankers, and the rest, right? These people are directly connected to you. Then the final one is what? The external stakeholders. These ones are not working within the organization, but they are interested in your operations to some extent. So government, also media, the community, prospective investors, analysts, students, the community. Are you getting? All these people are interested in your operations, but they are not directly working with you. They have no sort of connection. So a business, remember that all these people have interest in your business. They have something they want from you. So why impact of stakeholder expectation? Remember, if people expect something from you, you have to put in effort, because some of them are directly connected to you. So if they have expectations, you have to satisfy their expectations. But you cannot do all. Remember, we have resource constraints. So we have models which we are going to use to satisfy these stakeholders, the most pressing ones. That is what stakeholder analysis is about. And every night, whether I like it or not, stakeholders will be hidden somewhere. I keep telling students, but some of them fail to listen. It's always there. I mentioned that there are 3 things you need, right? I mentioned them. I told you what? Environment, resources, and stakeholders. It was part of it. So how can you go to the exam and say, stakeholder came the previous night, so I didn't expect it to come again? You see, I see life. Oh, this thing, they examine business valuation. Business valuation will not come. Stop that. Don't predict. Just learn. You see, sometimes we complicate issues for our own selves. Just learn and know the thing. If it came, it's even a plus for you. You can learn it again. But somebody says, oh, wait, Emba, don't worry yourself. But connect out. Just be prepared. If you're a soldier, you prepare. Don't say that, oh, we killed Lebanese enemies, so Lebanese will not come. For all you know, there's a Lebanese in your territory who is there to kill you. So that is it, right? So these stakeholders, there are 2 main models which IC recommends. However, there are so many stakeholder models, right? So we have one, which is the stakeholder importance and position matrix, right? It was developed by a Russian guy. The name is so weird. I cannot pronounce it. So let's just go by importance position matrix. And 2, we have the Mendeley stakeholder matrix. Now, this Mendeley matrix is the key model which they want, because this one, we did it at level 1. Okay. So anything you've done at level 1 is very important. The examiner can always bring it for you. Now, these models actually help us to what? Satisfy the expectations of the most pressing stakeholders, the ones who are very important and have some sort of power. Are you getting it? That we can what? We can manage. Okay. And these models are not really difficult. The importance and position depends on stakeholders who support you and who do not support you, and how important or less important they are. However, the Mendeley matrix depends on the power and the interest of the stakeholders. And then the thing is not about just understanding the model, but understanding how to satisfy the stakeholders. So the satisfaction of the stakeholders requires some strategies, right? So there are some stakeholders who do not often support you. You have to win their support. This is one of the strategies. There are some stakeholders who are already supporting you. So Obi Opewa that do not spoil the relationship. You maintain goodwill with those stakeholders. There are some people that they are so difficult to deal with. These people, we try to find a compromise with them, right? So you try to find a compromise. We call them antagonistic stakeholders, or sometimes they may be key players or what? Keep satisfied stakeholders based on the other model. And sometimes you try and what? Just inform, right? You inform or consult or participate, right? Or I get it. So that those people feel included. So these are the 4 main strategies to dealing with stakeholders. And this is what every student has to recommend after doing a stakeholder analysis or conclude with. But what do I see students do? They will just write the model, this one is supporting stakeholder, this one is antagonistic, this one is this, they are done. They never give recommendation. Therefore, stakeholder group A that you suggested, the best or appropriate strategy for managing them is to find a compromise by regularly engaging them, giving them incentive packages, doing this, right? This group of stakeholders, this is what we have to do. We have to inform them or keep them informed of changes happening within the organizations. Remember, looking at stakeholders means also managing change. Remember, if there's change, stakeholders are the same people who are going to resist the change. And then you have to find a way to close that resistance. So change management always comes with stakeholders, because it's people who will resist that change. You get the idea. Your paper is not so difficult. It's just about sitting down and learning what is required. That's all. Okay, so we've said a little. Now, from there, there's one particular model which you require for strategic performance. This model appears about 5 solid times in your syllabus, balance scorecard. 5 times in your syllabus, everywhere is required. You can use it to assess business objectives. That means assess your CSFs and KPIs, right? So the balance scorecard is simply breaking your KPIs and CSFs, or simply your key objectives, into 4 perspectives, right? You know that I told you objectives could be financial objectives or non-financial objectives. Now, this model breaks this into 2, okay? So 4 perspectives. The financial perspective takes 1, right? And the non-financial perspective takes 3. Okay, it breaks the first one into our customer perspective, which measures customer satisfaction. Okay, measures how satisfied your customers are with you and your services or your products. 2, internal business. What must we do internally to make sure that we achieve that present objective? 3, how do we innovate, bring out new products and services and technology advancement? We call that the learning and growth perspective. Sometimes some people call it innovation and learning, or innovation and growth perspective, developed by Kaplan and Norton in 1996. This is the balance scorecard. However, there's another aspect of the balance scorecard, which is the non-market version. Okay, that one has to do with ethics, how your balance scorecard impacts your environment. Okay, what is the non-market side of the balance scorecard? How do you do emissions? You are looking at greenhouse gas effects and all that, the impact on the environment by the organization, right? These are the things that you will be looking at. Okay, so once we finish looking at that, we need to understand core values that an organization goes with. Remember, when I was talking about the 4 elements of a mission, I mentioned some shared values. There are some things that are so key to the organization that you cannot do away with. Sometimes we end up calling them underlying paradigm, right? Now, this organizational paradigm are the things that we uphold. You see, there are some people, theirs is integrity and honesty. That is the core value they go with and they work with. Every organization has its own core values. Okay, so you must understand that core values can also play a critical role in shaping the culture of an organization. If you are in an organization where everything is about punctuality, then their products even go to the market quickly because they want to be punctual in everything they do. Are you getting it? If an organization was created by a woman, you see the level of customer service and hospitality is top notch. So all these core values help to shape the organization's well-being and how it plans to achieve its objectives. You get the idea? Okay. So once you have been able to understand core values, then you know it dives directly into culture. Charles Handy defines culture as the way we do things around here. Simple. So the way of life of a group of people is what we call culture. So when it comes to organizational culture, it is what shapes the life of the organization. So the way we talk, the way we wear our clothes, the way our office is arranged, and there are some factors that influence culture. Okay, so before an organization can have its culture, they can ask you, what are the factors that influence culture? One, for me, I always start with the founder. Yes, the one who finds the organization or the organization's founder is always a key person of influence. He's the person who is going to start the culture. Now, apart from the founder, sometimes you can even talk about the stories. Maybe there were some scary stories when you started the business and all that. These are factors that can shape. The office layout, the way the office is the office layout can be there. The management style, the environment, even where you find yourself, right? These are all factors that can shape your culture. The working layout, your stories, your myths and your symbols, all these things are things that can shape your culture. Are you getting it? So there are so many factors that can shape an organization's culture, and these are some of them. But I always start with the organization's founder because he's the one who is the overall picture, right? So there was this company which was headed by this man. He was the founder and he was working in the mines, and he used to come across a lot of paranormal activities. Okay, so he called his company Paranorma, and what they do is they sell mining equipment with they have spiritual science and stuff on it. So you see, based on those kind of horrifying stories and stuff, people like to purchase his mining equipment because there's a story behind it. Okay, these are some of the things that make your course very fun, but people take it to examination, so they do not see the fun part of it. Okay, so that is it. Then we have to look at Charles Handy's culture types. So there are various culture types. There are some organizations where there's a head, right? And then he controls the staff. We call that the power structure. So with this one, it is one type of organization where one person is at the top and people are beneath him, right? One boss and others. Then we have some type of organizations which are bureaucratic. You have to move from here to there to that. We have some organizations which work like professionals, right? Like doctors, right? You see, all of them are professionals under one head. You get it? All of them are under one head. That is one thing you have to look at. So we have different kinds of organizations. Then we have to look at the cultural web. Now, you see, when we look at a web, which is framed by a spider, you see that they all connect. Yes. So there are some factors. There are 7 factors which can be used to analyze whether somebody's culture is effective or not. So for me, I make everything practical when I'm teaching case study. That's the fact. Now, when we look at the 7 factors that make up the cultural web, everything I do is to look at, does this culture create a weakness for the organization or it ends up creating a strength? That's all I'm about. So if I see that this is something that, yes, it's your culture, I know, but should it be changed? Yes, it's not helping you. Change it. That's how you answer questions. If they ask you a question, I tell you, anytime you're answering case study question, it is either they're asking for an advantage or disadvantage. Because why will a client bring you a case? He will bring it to you when he's facing a problem, and you have to tell him whether what he's already doing is good or bad. That is the approach, right? So when it comes to this part, you see, as part of strategic objectives, they brought ethics. And trust me, ethics is one area you don't want to mess with. It's so broad, right? See, ethics alone. Boom. And even social responsibility is part of ethics. You can see it down here. So ethics, what is ethics? The theories of ethics. Business ethics across organizational functions. Why ethical problems occur in business. Ethics in a global economy. Ethics law and illegal corporate behavior, bribery and corruption. The core element of ethical reform. Analyzing ethical problems in business. Models of ethical judgments. That's what they brought last night, right? They brought them. The models of ethical judgment, fiduciary relationship, contractual relationship, they are there, right? Then the models of ethical decision making, they are all there. And you see, the thing is obvious in your syllabus, but ask me, how many students actually sit down to learn this thing? Majority do not. So they're always like, ICA is mafiaing them. ICA has not mafiaed you. You haven't learned enough. And for all you know, because the thing is so broad and now is 3 nights, we do not have enough time to cover everything. But I always do my best to cover what you need. Still, it is never enough for students to not learn. Learn. Start now. There's no anywhere, anytime again. If you start now, you will relax in the future, right? Start now. The time is now. If you do not have the ICA study text, get yourself one. Get a hard copy. A lot of people will just get soft copy. Get a hard copy. It's very important. Just get a hard copy. Or print the soft copy out if you can print it. It will be more expensive than that. If you have your own printer, fine. Print it. You can print it chapter by chapter. Every day, you just spend 20 minutes, right? Even if you will not read, get a pencil and be highlighting the headings. Rewrite them in a summary somewhere. It will help you. By the time you are done in March, you would have covered substantial part. Then use the classes to, balance it off. And you are good to go. I gave that advice to one guy who said he cannot afford class. And we being here, he made it last night. He just sent me a token yesterday. It wasn't bad. It makes you feel, yeah, people actually listen. And that is it. If you listen, there's no way you're going to fail. People do not listen enough. Anyway, that is it. So you see, as part of ethics, there's social responsibility and environmentally driven strategy. So you must know what CSR is, the evolution and theories of CSR. So things like Carroll's 4 responsibilities. You have to look at the limits of corporate social responsibility. Remember, a business can do, but cannot do all. So there are some limits. You have to look at economic, legal, and social responsibilities, as well as philanthropic responsibilities by Carroll. We call it Carroll's 4 social responsibilities. the economic, legal, and social responsibilities, areas of social responsibility, corporate social responsibility in a global context. How are you supposed to do your social responsibility? Now, you see some businesses, every country they go or worldwide, they are known for being able to support they have charities here and there. You see, that's why a lot of people buy products from Microsoft, because they know Bill Gates has a lot of foundations elsewhere. They are helping people. You get it? So there are people we call green consumers. Now, green consumers help you gain competitive advantage when you are environmentally sound as a business. You get the idea? So you have to look at key elements of managing social responsibility, as well as what we call the social responsibility models, okay? So we call them ethical stances. So we are going to look at those ones as well. So this is the first part. Then when you finish, you are now going to look at the various approaches to adopting a strategy. Before you form a strategy, you are going to ask yourself, what approach am I using? We have a systems-based approach where you are looking at organization systems and how they operate and how they come up with their strategies. We have to look at a resource-based approach where you are looking at strengths and weaknesses, or you are looking at what resources have value, okay? What resources are valuable? What resources are inimitable, meaning people cannot easily copy? Which resources are rare? You know, if something is rare, it's difficult to come by and have organizational support, right? So we are saying that, okay, if our resources are valuable, they are inimitable or not copyable, not so, they are rare in nature and they have organization-wide support, then it's not easy for somebody to copy. That means it's a strong resource. Nobody can copy. Okay, then we have to look at core competencies. Core competencies are your skills which we cannot copy. You see, resources are the ones that are tangible and intangible. Competencies are your skills. And we actually want to achieve what we call strategic advantage or strategic capability. So when we say somebody is capable, he has two things, right? Resources and skills or competencies. So we want unique resources and core competencies, right? This is what we are actually looking for. So if you're able to achieve this as an organization, then you should have strategic capability, meaning nobody can compete with you in your environment. Are we okay? Now, as part of that, we also have to look at the rational approach to developing strategy. This is a systematic step-by-step approach. Okay, step-by-step approach that we use to establish strategy, which goes through a systematic level of step, meaning adequate planning must be made. Yes, you have to go through strategic analysis, then you come to strategic options and choice, then finally to implementation, right? This is what we use in our exam, which is the rational strategy model. But then, do you all agree with me that it's not always that you can get the time to plan? Some things come and you have to take them immediately, right? So with that one, this one has a weakness because this one is what? Sometimes it could become outdated when you're in a fast-changing environment. I cannot plan sometimes. Let's say an opportunity just came today and I just have now till the next 50 minutes. What planning can I do? I just have to take it. So there are other informal models like the freewheeling opportunism. Are you getting it? And then the incremental model. So there are a lot of them. The adaptive, the emergent strategy model too is there. That as time goes on, you change your strategies a little, right? So these are ways we come up with strategies, right? Whether you are going with the freewheeling opportunism, where you don't plan, but you take advantage of opportunities like an entrepreneur. You have the incremental model, which you increase your strategies bit by bit based on past policies. You have the emergent model, which you switch your strategies as things change. So that is the first part of your syllabus. Syllabus reference A, strategic objectives. It's time for questions. Put your hands up. I'll answer you. Then we go to the B part of your syllabus. Yes, who has any question for me? Please ask questions. Oh, that's why I'm here for you. Yes, we are done with the first part. Hey, Obi Mbisa question. I'm waiting. Oh, I'm waiting. I'm waiting. Oh, I'm waiting. Okay. So that means we should proceed. If we should proceed, give me a thumbs up. If we should proceed, kindly give me a thumbs up so that we proceed. Yeah. Grace found your hand is up. Kindly put your hands up again. I think you, or you were just, I don't know whether you have a question for me. Okay. Somebody said I should put up my number in 0243443934. Okay, so nobody actually has a question. Okay, fine. So we go to the B part of the syllabus, which says we should prepare and advise on a strategic analysis for a specified scenario. That means there'll be a scenario by evaluating the external and internal environments to support strategy development. To support what? Strategy development. That means that you must be able to what? Evaluate the situation or scan the environment to support the development of our strategy. To identify a strategic position, we need to know what opportunities and threats we are facing, right? So we must prepare and evaluate for a specified scenario and external analysis, paying attention to one international business environment where we use the Porter's diamond, okay? And then the general macro environment where we use the PESTA analysis, then the industry and competitive analysis, where we use Porter's 5 forces, strategic group analysis, scenario plans, and finally stakeholder analysis and management. Don't worry, this part I'm actually going to teach you. I'm not going to do an overview. It's a plus for all of you. I'm going to teach you how to score this part, right? Very, very important. So I'm going to take a literal scenario, and then we are going to see how we can apply these models, because I'm literally going to teach you these models. So kindly hold on for me. Let me see if I can get a nice case, and then we can take it from there. I hope that's a good idea. If it's a good idea, put your hand, give me a thumbs up. If it's not, give me a thumbs down so that we do something else. I want to take an actual scenario. I'm waiting. Oh, yeah, your hand is up. Grace found. You can unmute and ask your question. You can unmute and ask your question. I've unmuted you. It seems your hand is up. Okay. So hands down, right? Yeah, you can unmute and ask your question. I don't know. It's gone. Yeah, Disam, your hand is up. You can unmute and ask your question. Oh, you put your hands up. When you put your hands down, I cannot find you. So your hand must stay up. Then I will unmute you. But if your hand is... So if you want to ask a question, you can unmute and ask your question. Yeah. I don't know if my screen is visible. Oh, okay. So let's see. Okay, so let me give you an idea, right? So we have Happy Daisies Limited, okay? And Happy Daisies Company Limited was founded 30 years ago as a family business. Now, one thing about ICA is ICA loves family businesses. Ask me why. Because when businesses are family-based businesses, they have a strong rooted culture, meaning that there's always going to be resistance to change, okay? There's always going to be resistance to change because they always, family is family, right? We say blood is thicker than water, not so? Is that not so? But this is the short version of it. The actual statement is the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. Okay? The blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. That means some relationship are worth more than family. That is actually what it means. So we are saying that yes, when you have a family-based business, their culture is rigid. They do not want to change. So ICA likes they like those kind of businesses. So initially when they start, they are family businesses. So what are they focused on? How can they change? So when they bring questions like that, that means there's a lot of questions that they can ask you. Okay, so as we go through the case, look at how I analyze cases. I just want to give you an idea. So Happy Days Company was founded 30 years ago. So see, if somebody has been there for 30 years, that means he's a knowledge warehouse. Definitely, he has goodwill. So anytime I see some business which has been there for a long time, it tells me they have goodwill. Otherwise, they wouldn't have stayed this long. It's a trick. You see, exam is all about tricks. As a family business, then immediately I will highlight this and say that means these guys have what? A rigid culture. So you see, I put keywords down when I'm analyzing cases, and they said it dealt in general merchandise. So most of the time, when you look at a particular industry, you have to look at what they deal in to look at the risks and rewards that they may have, or the risk and advantages that they may have. Somebody that is dealing in general merchandise, it means they didn't give us any specific kind of product. General merchandise means you can sell anything, right? So my hands are tied. However, you can look at some risks of selling general merchandise, right? So you go online. So you go online and then you search risks of selling. I'm teaching you how to analyze cases, general merchandise. Risk of selling general merchandise. Okay. So general merchandise are mostly retail operators, right? So retail risk management. So you go there. Okay. So you can see, I've seen some here, you see. So you research, you see property. As a business owner, you've invested your own money into your building, signage, merchandise, and equipment. Just one incident involving any of this property can significantly impact your business chances for survival, right? So these are some of the things that you see. So learn to make use of the internet for your case study. Make it fun. It's supposed to be fun. It's one of the fun papers I love teaching. It's so fun, right? So we've seen one. In fact, property exposures in retail operations can come from many sources, including natural disasters, extreme weather, lightning, and other things, customers, employee vandalism, equipment breakdown. They depend on functioning equipment to service their customers effectively. In the case of equipment drop down in Ghana, doomsaw, and other things, your fridges might get spoiled. You see, crime, pilferage, product liability, right? Safe and reliable product. If you fail to meet those expectations, business interruption, right? So as you are researching these things, you end up learning so much more, okay? So you see, go in, you check. So you go through 2, 3, 4, 5 sites, you see theft of physical items, data breaches, inventory damage, customer injuries, failure to monitor competitors, forced closure by government, business interruption. You get it? So once you've seen the nature of the business you are dealing with, it makes it easier to now analyze because already you know the kind of risks that are up ahead. You get it? That is it. You see, it makes it very enticing. Everything should be practical. So you are saying, okay, we've seen the risk that this company is likely to face. Now, 15 years later, the founders now converted the business into a private limited liability company. And one thing you must understand about ICA is this. They like private companies. Why? Because a private company can easily convert, okay, or can later, I should clean easily, can later list on the stock exchange, right? They have so many questions they can ask you, because once you list on the stock exchange, that means you're either issuing shares, not so. You issue shares, you are going with loan notes. So financing, you see financing is coming in. There may be a potential for manipulation of the financial statements. So yes, ICA likes this. You get the idea? So just bring out the key points. It's the key points that we are concerned about. And they say the company is located in the industrial area in Accra. If you are located in an industrial area, is that not a locational advantage? Do you all agree with me? Is it or is not? It is, right? So when you see anything that makes it look like the company is benefiting, it is a strength. Or if it is in the outskirts or it's outside the organization, then it's an opportunity. That's how we look at these things. They said it has a distinctive brand name. Okay. It has a distinctive brand name. This one looks like the company is benefiting, right? So this one, because it is not outside, it is the company's brand. It is a strength as well. Are you getting it? Which was created by its founder and chairman of the company. The brand is a household in the southern sector of the country. The company has concentrated its marketing activities. This one tells us that the company has limitation, because that's its marketing activity is only concentrated in the southern sector. It also exports its products to Mali and Burkina Faso. So they've told us he has a foothold in other markets. But within Ghana itself, it has concentrated its marketing activities only in what? The southern sector. Since its establishment, the company has been committed to conducting its business in a transparent, socially and environmentally responsible manner, which is a plus because people love companies who do social responsibility. It adopted an open door policy and allowed employees to participate in decision making. This will allow to check any resistance in change. Remember, the chairman always stressed that managers within the organization must be prepared to listen both to customers and their employees. This is a very good strategy, right? Consultative approach to management. The directors of the company have provided the following information to guide the management team in its independent strategic review meetings. Okay, so once you get all these things, it can help you to gather information about the company at hand. Now, this is what I'm concerned about. First of all, let's go to the analysis of the external environment. So we'll first look at pestle. Sorry, I'm down with the cold since some days now. Let's see. Where? Okay, so I see a lot of ICA students when they say pestle, they are just listing in the exam. Why are you listing? Who asked you to list? You are not supposed to list. You are supposed to explain, get the factor. So actually, our macro, let me draw the business environment. I think that will help. So if you are looking at the business environment itself, right? Sometimes I think we need to go back to those times. So every business has a particular environment which it operates, right? So we look at the business environment, and this business environment, if I should draw a very big this thing like this, okay? So let me make it like this so that you understand it better. So here, let me put countries like we have China here. No, so we have China being here. We have US. We have UK. We have maybe Italy. Okay. So you see, then we have Ghana. I'm assuming this is Ghana that have broken down, right? Now you see that where we are now, there are various countries there. We call that the global environment. Let me explain it for you to understand well. When we say the global environment, it means that can our country compete on a global scale with respect to some particular industry? Okay, that's what we call the global environment. So in terms of, let's say, if we are looking at the car industry, the car manufacturing industry, how can Ghana, succeed comparing itself to China, Italy, UK, Japan? It depends on some particular countries. Can Ghana become a foothold in the industry? So here we are looking at industry attractiveness in terms of the international space. So does Ghana have what it takes to be able to compete? Assuming a business in Ghana does car manufacturing, can it go to other countries and compete effectively? That is how come we analyze the global environment. And the model we use here is the diamond. So the diamond was also established by Michael Porter, and he looks as far forward factors that can make what Ghana compete on a global scale in a particular industry. So here we look at industry attractiveness at the global level. Does that make sense? So sometimes we call it national competitive advantage. Is it understood? So what are these 4 factors? 1, we have what we call factor conditions. So with factor conditions, we are saying that, okay, do we have the factors of production, both basic and advanced, that can help us be able to get the best components and raw materials to manufacture our cars in Ghana compared to other countries? So factor conditions are basically the basic factors of production. Remember them, right? Land, capital, you have land, labor, not true, human resources, all those things, right? The basic ones, the natural resources, maybe, Ghana, we have aluminum, we have bauxite, we have all the metals, right? That's a plus for us in car manufacturing. But advanced factors, do we have what it takes? Do we have the advanced labor who have gone to school, who have studied engineering, who have done car manufacturing and assembling, who know knockdown vehicles, who knows vehicle splitting? Do we have those here? Do we have a lot of people? If right now we say we are going to build the biggest car manufacturing industry in Ghana, will we get the skilled resources to carry them out? Please, it should be an interactive forum. You can unmute and answer. Yes? Are we going to get people?
Yes.
Are you sure? If right now we are going to manufacture, do we have the advanced resources to do that?
We don't have advanced, but we have people who can do that.
Those are the advanced resources, the people who are not. You get it? So if you can do that, or if people can do that, then we could say our factor conditions are favorable, right? And all you are looking for is that the organization you are dealing with, the factor condition, is it favorable? When it is favorable, that means it becomes an opportunity for that organization to compete globally. Because if I have resources that are making me competitive in my country, then there's a big chance that I'll compete well in other countries. Does that make sense? I hope it is becoming clearer. So these things, they are very easy, but we just read. If you read, it does not make sense until you practicalize it. You get it? So we've seen the first factor, factor conditions. Let's go to the second condition, demand conditions. Now, demand conditions is the condition in your home country. That tells us that, okay, so what we are doing, right? This business, this car manufacturing business we've gone into, what is the position of Ghanaians on it? Do Ghanaians patronize it? Let's take Suffolk and Tanker. How many Ghanaians purchase Suffolk and Tanker's car? How many people demand it? What is the demand level for Suffolk and Tanker's car in Ghana? Yes, answer me. Is it high compared to foreign cars?
Low.
It's very low.
So that tells us that demand conditions, are they favorable or unfavorable?
Unfavorable.
Unfavorable, right? It's telling us that if a business is in car manufacturing in Ghana, in terms of demand conditions, it is not going to perform well in other countries because we have taste for foreign goods. That means our demand conditions are not so good. So this one is a no-no for the company to compete globally. Do you get it? Nice. So the next factor, we've seen 1, we've seen 2. The third factor is what we call related and supporting industries. So when we talk about related and supporting industries, do you know that there are some particular industries that support what you do? When I say there are particular industries that support what you do, it means that they make it a cohesive operation. They make it easier for you to do what you do. Remember, the car manufacturing industry has other industries which support it. The Valco, we have other industries that make metals, right? We have other industries that sell tires. True or false? We have the transport industry, because if you manufacture the car, you can sell to these people. True or false? We have the entertainment industry. They require motor vehicles to move around. True or false? True or false? So all the other industries that support your industry become related and supporting industry. If you have strong related and supporting industries, if you go outside, you can compete well. But if you do not have some, it makes it difficult to compete because even if you require things to support, it will be difficult. Does it make sense? So if I'm in the tourism business, what are some of the related and supporting industries to tourism that can help Ghana succeed in tourism compared to other countries? We have good hotels, true or false? We have good hospitality. We have restaurants. We have transport services, true or false?
True.
So does that make it a favorable condition or unfavorable condition?
Favorable.
Favorable, yes, because we have related and supporting industries that support us to make us achieve what we want to achieve. Makes sense. Then the last one is the firm rivalry strategy. Okay. So firm rivalry and strategy, you can look at it that way. Now, how do your existing competitors in the car manufacturing industry compete with you? If the competition is tight and you are still succeeding, it means that you can succeed elsewhere. But if there's no, like Suffolk and Tanker here, does he have any competition from car manufacturers in Ghana? Does he have any competition?
No.
He has, oh.
Yes, there's now
Foreign competitors.
yeah. There's two.
So that is why he's innovative. So even when Suffolk and Tanker leaves Ghana, because of that alone, he can compete well. So foreigners buy Suffolk and Tanker's cars a lot, even more than Ghanaians. Because of that trait, competing with Toyota and other cars, he's sort of gaining ground and he's shifting his market capabilities. You get the idea? So this is a very effective model which you can use in your own business, not only exam. It works magic. I know a guy who started ICA because his capabilities were not appreciated by Ghanaians. He shifted to Institute of Chartered Accountants Nigeria, and now he's a foothold there. So he finally went to settle in Nigeria, and he's one of the biggest tuition centers from ICA to ICANN. That is it. So sometimes this is how this model works to make you compete elsewhere. Because of the strong competition and how the ICA industry is doused in Ghana, he shifted to another industry. And because he has been in competition or he has seen a lot of what firm rivalry, structure and strategy, this guy was able to perform very well in that industry. So that's the first model. Interesting?
Yes, very interesting.
Okay.
Awesome.
Now, one thing you must understand is that, you know, upon all these factors, two things can easily change these factors. Somebody should ask me that why. Why am I saying?
Why?
All these things that we have, COVID came to change all, true or false?
True.
Government policy too can change all. So,
yes,
other two factors that no matter the plans you have had here, they can just come and spoil everything. So we have one, government intervention or government policy, and two, chance events, right? Like the COVID and things that were unexpected. So these things can easily come and mess up all the plans that you have made. You see, it's not fair. COVID, somebody planned that he will get this and he has planned all the revenue. All of a sudden, there's lockdown. Hey, well, lockdown was not COVID. It was government policy, true or false? Lockdown, it was government policy, true or false?
True.
Of the borders, government policy, right? It affected all these factors. Mebuana. Anayampa. Mebuana. Everybody's quiet. Am I lying or is the truth?
It's the truth.
Okay. Okay. So with that being said, let's take a proper past question and let's see how these things are examined. For me, I like to be practical, right? I don't like to joke around. Let's see. Case study is supposed to be fun. Okay. So I'm just going straight to the question to see how the question is. Even without the case, we can still answer based on what we've learned. So let's see. So look at this question. This is from the very first case study that IC examined in November 2019. So let's see. A, discuss the view that the tourism industry in Ghana might currently be at a disadvantage and underdeveloped compared to other countries. Use Porter's diamond to structure your answer. 8 marks. So you see how they were asking. So what are they asking for? Are they asking for favorable factors or they are asking for unfavorable factors? Yes. Are they asking for favorable factors or unfavorable factors?
Favorable could be disadvantage.
They said might currently be at a disadvantage and underdeveloped compared to other countries. So are they asking for favorable factors or they're asking for unfavorable factors?
Unfavorable.
Unfavorable factors. So they are telling us that, okay, looking at the Ghanaian tourism industry, it seems they are not doing well enough to compete with other countries. So what are the factors to consider? 1, factor conditions. A lot of people who go to school are not so strong in the tourism industry, right? Advanced factors are not enough. But however, we have strong basic factors like heritage centers, we have good waterfalls, our country is close to the sea and all that. True or false? But people do not even want to go, even at demand conditions. How many Ghanaians patronize tourism? Only a few. True or false? It's a disadvantage. Competition. How many people compete in the tourism industry? Are you getting it? But related and supporting industries are quite strong, but not strong enough. The case also gave some other issues. So we use it. Like people were stealing things from foreigners and all that, right? Poor transport services. Sometimes foreigners do not get good ATMs to use. So you look at all these factors and you use to talk based on the 4 conditions I talked about. Then you go for it to say, however, because of the issue of there was COVID in the case, right? The COVID and other things, chance events and government policy can further impact these factors. And then me, when it's 8, I get 8/8. I don't get 7, neither do I get 6. That is the approach. So that was Porter's diamond. I hope that was okay. You've really understood the model. That's all there is about it anyway. There's nothing else you need to know. All you have to do is know the criticisms of the model or the limitations and advantages of the model. Every model you learn the criticisms of the model. That's all. So that's about Porter's diamond. The next one on the line is being able to, we've seen the global environment. We now have to look at what the general or macro environment. Now we started from the global environment where we had other countries there, China, and how to compete with those countries. Now we come within Ghana itself and look at our general environment. That means the environment that affects every particular business in Ghana. Okay, so sorry, it seems it cleaned. So if I'm to draw it again, so we've seen the global environment, right? Now we come within Ghana, then we come to the industry. So this is the global environment, okay, where we saw all the other countries. We come to the macro or general or conceptual environment, right? And this general conceptual environment is the environment that affects everyone. So here I have the entertainment industry. Also, I have whatever industry, I get in so many industries. Maybe I have the financial industry or financial sector. Maybe I have education industry, right? Everybody gets affected. The market women, everybody's affected. For instance, a change in fuel price, right? Change in fuel prices can literally affect everyone, right? Does it affect only a group of people or it affects everyone? Inflation in Ghana, does it affect only a group of people? It affects everyone. Yes?
It affects everyone.
Yes. So the general environment is the environment that affects everyone, right? So here the model which we are concerned about is PESTEL. Some people tell you use SLEPT analysis, PEST analysis. There's so many rules. Some people, they have STEEPLE, PESTEL. So far as it is there, it is there. They can ask you to use any of them. Now, what I am concerned about is not the PESTEL analysis itself. The PESTEL just aids you to identify factors, but the factors itself, right? So PESTEL stands for political factors. Okay. political factors, environmental factors, or let me just go to economic. That's how they like arranging it. So let me just go that way. So we have environmental, economic factors, then we have legal factors, that's also sociocultural factors. We have technological factors. We have ecological or environmental factors. And then we have legal factors. Okay, so now look, yes, all these things like political changes in government, anything to do with government policy or government changing something, government stability, political and government things are all political, economic, you know, economic data, inflation, everything, economic, social, cultural, things to do with people and culture, right? You know that technological has to do with technology, change in technology, new products, new services in the system, environmental, things related to climate, the environment, right? Systems in the community, I get, you know, all these things that change in the legal factors, anything to do with law. Just look at it in simple terms. But why am I saying this? In the exam, I get it, or in the course, you must be able to tell us why is the factor you have chosen political. A lot of students just say political factors, then they start listing. Do not list, explain. So actually, anytime I'm doing analysis, I get it. I do something. I have various methods I use to do any case study. The first is using P, right? What is P? Brad P. Always, what is the point you want to make? The point is actually the topic, right, that you are picking. 2, what is the explanation of that point? So the explanation is mostly the theory around it, or the basic knowledge around that area. Then finally, evidence from the particular case, right? Evidence from the particular case, and this is the application. Okay, so you can do P as point explanation application, or point explanation evidence for every case study. The next is IWA approach. I also use this. Mostly this one, I use this for ethical issues, but it works everywhere. So 1, what is the issue at hand? Why is it an issue? Meaning the implications. And what is the particular action that can be taken, which is the safeguard. Okay, this one mostly works. Another area I use is the W's. What has happened? Why has it happened? When did it happen? Or how did it happen? So what is the implication on the organization? Does it lead to an opportunity or it leads to a threat? Does it lead to a strength or a weakness? So I make every model so easy for myself that immediately you ask me a question, I have a foolproof answer for you. And this has been done over a span of 10 years. Over time, this is what I've come to see that, okay, in my time of teaching all this while, these things make case studies so easy, right? You don't have to think. Once you get a factor, you can easily come up with that. Okay, this is the point I want to put across. This is what it means. This is the implication on the organization at hand. So what has happened? Why does it matter to the organization? When did it happen? So what is the implication? Is there an opportunity or it's a threat? I can give you a simple example. Let's take Happy Days again, right? So we were looking at Happy Days. And where were we? Yeah. So we've seen the information here, right? They've given us net sales, you know, accountants and financial statements. Financial statements are always our friends, right? Excuse me. Financial statements are always our friends. And this makes it interesting. So somebody should tell me what are some of the things he or she is seeing from this financial statement that should draw somebody's attention. Yes, I'm listening. What do you think? Just looking at this, what do you think can draw somebody's attention?
The profit for the year seems.
The profit for the year seems Yeah.
You might look at the profit for the year or the sales of the company.
Okay, but I'm saying which one? Looking at this one that I've given, what area should we investigate? What area should we investigate?
The increase in the cost of sales.
Increase in the cost of sales. Thank you.
Then, so we need to investigate why either fall or increase in sales.
Sales specifically increased, so maybe we need to look at what caused the increase.
Yes, that is true. You get it. So once you have been able to analyze this, now listen, this is very critical. They intentionally give you, you see, normally when you are doing ratios in financial reporting or you are doing ratios in management account or whatever, you see they don't give you a scenario. But case study, you now can tell us why these things are changing based on the scenario. So when you come down here, you see it says the company made capital investment of 2 million during 27. You can see. So if we made capital investments during the year, is it not going to increase our assets? Yes or no?
Yes, sir. It will.
Check the total assets increase.
Yes.
Did it increase?
Yes.
It will increase.
Giving you information. That is how you go about it. So this thing is very interesting. Now, every ratio that you get, you already have the interpretation with you. You get it? So they said what? The investment included construction of new offices at the factory and purchase of distribution vans. Distribution vans means that it's either old ones are replaced or we need to incur more distribution expenses. True or false? Like fuel and TNT. True or false? So go and check if distribution costs have increased. Let's check. Did it increase?
Yes.
Yes, it did, because we bought distribution vans. And once we buy distribution vans, that means we need more fuel to power them up. So you see, I'm coming up with interpretation. That's how I want you to learn. That's how I want you to come up with factors. It's not just pestle. This has government policy. No, don't do that. The pestle is just an aid. You can even analyze the environment without pestle and still get the same points. The pestle is just an aid to see where to capture it from. Is that okay? So now we've seen 2 points. Now let's see if we can see some political factors and all that. So when I highlight, you tell me where we'll put it. They say Happy Days Limited has enjoyed considerable success in the domestic market and 2 West African countries. We know this already, right? Now, the directors are worried about the macroeconomic environment. For example, 27, the volatility of crude oil prices brought the economy under some inflationary pressures. So what are we seeing here? What kind of factor? Economic factor. But what is the point under it? I got 2 points, right? 1, changes in oil prices or increase in oil prices. Not so. And 2, inflation. You get the idea? So they told me that what? The year-end inflation for 27 was recorded at 12.7, with the average being 10.7%. Not so. And during the period, there were 2 major increases in electricity tariffs. So this one is telling me that, okay, I've seen so many inflation, and you know, once goods is a general rise in goods and services, right? That means it is possible that my cost of operation will increase, my expenses will increase. So check, was there increase in expenses? Yes. Cost of sales increased from 16,982 to 21,448 in absolute terms. And in relative absolute terms means in Ghana cedi. Relative terms means in percentage terms, and relative terms is percentage change. We know that you have to take what? The current year minus the previous year, all over the previous year, times 100, right? So that is it. So in that case, what's the change in the operating expenses? I can just take 1 and use that to explain. Then I'll give you a foolproof answer of how we do pestle analysis. I hope you are learning something. So I think I have 21,448 minus 16,982 all over 16,982. (26.3%), right? So 26.3% increase, right, in cost of operations. Okay, so you've recorded this. You can even take maybe admin expenses increasing or operating expenses. Then now when you are going, maybe I take economic factors, right? When I'm coming to do my pestle analysis. Let me just clear that. I already have that information. So I'm going to do my pestle analysis. See how? Point. What is the point I want to make? So I come here, I say pestle what? Analysis. So pestle analysis is a model also used to what? Used to analyze the macroeconomic environment of or in which an organization also, or in which an organization operates. Also, it has the following factors. Then you list them: political factors, legal factors, ecological factors, also socio-cultural factors, and economic factors and technological factors, right? So once you state, then you say from the case, also from the case, the following are prevalent, right? Or obvious or stated. Then you take maybe environmental fact. It doesn't matter that you start with political. Some students want to start directly from political. No. So I can decide to start with economic what? Factors, right? So economic factors. Then I start with one, also increase in inflation. Also, so from the case, also, there was an increase also in inflation, also caused by what? Caused by volatility of crude oil, also prices, also, which in turn led to an average of 12.7% during the year and an increase by a particular percent. I've forgotten the percentage. Also, this led to the increase in Happy Days' cost of operations by 26.3% in relative terms, and maybe the change, you can find the change, and 4,466 cedis in relative terms, right? This is therefore a threat to the company's operations. You think if you write something like this, somebody is going to fail you? This one is even simple. I didn't go that far. So from the case, there was an increase in inflation caused by volatility of crude oil prices, which in turn led to an average of 12.7% inflation. And this has led to the increase in what? Happy Days' cost of operations by 23.6%, which in terms, also in relative terms, and 4,466 in absolute terms. This is therefore a threat to the company's operations, right? Because increasing cost means a reduction in profit, which cannot help you maximize your shareholders' wealth. You see how it is. So it is just that simple. But a lot of people just list. So that's all about pestle. I'll just give you an illustration. We do not have time, right? So when we get back to the syllabus, what's the next model? It says we should be able to do industry and competitive analysis. We have to use Porter's 5 forces and what we call strategic group analysis. Okay, so when we look at Porter's 5 forces, it is telling us the industry attractiveness, how attractive is an industry, right? And industry attractiveness is actually how profitable the industry is. So before an industry will be profitable, it depends on 5 forces, okay? So the higher the forces, the lower the profitability of the industry. And the lower the forces, the higher the profitability in the industry. That's how simple this model is. And there are 5 forces. Okay. Now, how do you analyze it? That is one thing that you have to know how to do. So, if I should wipe this off, we have 5 forces. The first one, which we talk about, is the threat of entry and exit. Now, this one is we use it to analyze our industrial or task or immediate or micro environment. Remember, we've done macro environment. This is the micro environment, the small environment, which is the industry where the company exists. Now, this threat of entry exits or exit is the threat of new entrants, right? The new people coming into the industry. Now, remember, anytime new people are coming into your industry, they're coming to steal 2 things from you. They're either coming to steal what? Your customers or your profits, right? That's the main reason why these people will come. And when they come, you are not going to make money because they are going to, by all means, take a portion of the market, especially when they're innovative or they have resources than you have. So there should be a way to stop these people from coming. And if that thing that is stopping them is so strong that people cannot enter easily, we call that barriers to entry. So this one depends on what? Barriers to entry. So the barriers to entry are the things that stop people from easily entering the industry. For instance, if you want to enter the industry, how strong are the barriers? Okay, so barriers to entry is what this area normally talks about. Like, how strong are the legal requirements? Is it easy to form a bank in Ghana? Is it easy to form a bank in Ghana? No, there are strict legal requirements. No. Capital requirements. Can you easily go with the capital requirement? You can't, Charlie. You need more than the Ewo. You get it? Huge capital requirements. Sometimes the companies that already have achieved economies of scale. You saw what they did to Glow. You cannot compete. Also, access to distribution channels. Maybe the persons there have access to distribution channels already, right? So when you come, you're coming to struggle. The reaction of the existing, I get it, the existing competitors, their reaction. I get it. Reaction of existing competitors, right? Sometimes they have what? Patents, or they have what? Intellectual property, which you cannot replicate, right? They've already taken part of the industry. So these things can stop you. You know that you're not comfortable because when you go, they'll frustrate your life, right? So these things stop people from entering other people's industry, right? And the more people stop, or the more these things stop people from entering the industry, then that means new entrants, the force is low, right? That means profitability in the industry is high. And anytime profitability is high to you, that means it is an opportunity to you, right? So that is how we do this. So you are just looking at, okay, because of what is happening, is it going to give me more profits, or is going to reduce my profits if I operate in the industry? If it will increase your profit, it's an opportunity. If it will reduce it, it is a threat. As simple as that. So that's threat of entry and exit. Also, the exit part is that, is it easy for people to leave the industry? If it's easy for them to leave, then you should be happy. That means a lot of competitors will leave and you still be there and you work well. If it is difficult for them to leave, then it may be a problem because you still be stuck in that same dilemma. Okay, so that's it. The next force which you can talk about is the bargaining power. The bargaining power of customers. Okay, so the bargaining power of customers. In simple terms, do customers have the power to command prices for you? Do you know that if customers have power, then that means you have low profitability because you give them at cheaper prices, which ends up reducing your profits? Do you all agree with me? So if a customer can negotiate your price from 200 cedis down to 100 cedis, meaning you are losing 100 in terms of profits, true or false? Is it good or is bad for your business? Is it good or is bad for your business?
It's bad.
It's bad, right? So that's all you have to say as an accountant. These models have fun. You get it? But people don't know how to answer questions with them. That's how come these things look difficult. They are not difficult. Some people's answers, they don't bring any time bring financial implications. What's the intensity of it? So what will make customers be able to dictate prices for you? It depends, right? One, the first thing I will talk about is the number of competitors in the market or the number of suppliers in the market. Do you know that if there's so many people selling your product, then it's easy for the customer to go to another person, true or false? So if there's so many suppliers in the market, then the customer can easily switch to another person. So you will be forced to sell it low to the customer. Two, we look at what? The position of the customer or the number of goods or the number of percentage of products the customer buys from you. If you have a customer who buys about 90% of all your products, then I'm sure that person has so much power, true or false, than the people who buy small, small, small. If you are selling, who has power? Is it not the one who buys bulk from you? So if the customer buys a lot from you, then he definitely has power to command prices from you, which will end up making the force higher. Three, you can look at if there are few suppliers, for instance, right? Or you are a monopolist. You see, if ECG says electricity prepaid now starts as 500 cedis, we will all complain, but we cannot do anything. True or false? We have to still buy, meaning we don't have power. But if there were so many electricity companies in Ghana, do you think anybody will patronize ECG? Or is a yes or no question? Yes or no? No, that is it.
No.
Another area is switching costs. I mean, this is what is easy for me. If the customer will find it easy to switch to another person, then we could say that what? The power of the customer is very high. But if the customer cannot easily switch, meaning he will incur a lot of cost to switch from you to another person, then he will stay with you. That makes it low. No, so and the availability of substitutes. Do you know that if there's a lot of substitute products, if I want to buy Kenke and the Kenke is expensive and I can substitute Banku for Kenke, then I'll go and buy Banku. True or false? So these are some of the factors that make customers powerful, right? If the factors are on the low, then the customers become less powerful, which makes you more profitable. I hope that makes sense.
Yes.
Nice. The same happens when you are the customer. So here we are looking at in terms of what? The third force, which is the bargaining power. The bargaining power of the supplier. You're looking at the bargaining power of the supplier. Now, the bargaining power of supplier is the other way around. Here we are looking at whether suppliers can also command prices. Are you getting it? From you, or give you absurd prices or control prices. So if the supplier can give you any price, that means he's powerful. And how can we look at this? We can also look at the number of customers in the market or the number of suppliers in the market. Do you understand? Do you know that if you have only few suppliers in the market, then they have power? Who agrees? Because if the product you are trying to buy, only 2 people sell it in the market, do you think that you can bring their prices down if you are buying raw materials? Can you? You can't.
No.
You get it? Making them powerful. 2, you can look at the number of purchases that you make as an organization. If you are their key purchaser, like you buy a lot from them, let's say you buy 80% of their products, then they are likely to, consider it because everybody wants to make friends. Also you look at switching costs. If you find it easier, you find it easy to switch from that supplier easily without incurring huge costs, then it's a plus for you, meaning the supplier has low power. Also, availability of substitutes as well. If you can easily substitute the supplier's raw material for another one easily, then you can easily switch, right? So the same factors that were there for the customer, now you are the customer. So you are looking at it from the point of the supplier, right? That's the bargaining power of the supplier. Remember, if the force is high, if the suppliers command the price premium, it means that this will end up increasing your costs. Increasing cost means decreasing profitability. True or false? When it came to the customer increasing their power, or commanding prices means that this will end up reducing your revenue, right? And reducing revenue means a reduction in profit. True or false? True. So it depends on where you're looking at it from. And always your conclusion should be implication on cost and revenues and profits and cash flows. That's what the examiner wants to see. everywhere. It doesn't matter whether you are doing ACCA, you are doing SEMA, you are doing ICAEW, you are doing SNM, whatever you are doing, the same approach happens even in marketing, right? But because we are accountants, we are more concerned with the cost and profit implications. If you answer questions with recommendations like this, trust me, there's no one anywhere who is ever going to fail you. So finally, I think we have two more forces. One is the availability of substitutes or the threat of substitute products, right? So we are saying that, okay, if you have substitutes, then you know that people can easily switch to those substitutes, right? So the higher the substitutes, right? The higher the level of substitutes, the lower your profitability. So look, I'm doing a Banku business. What are the substitutes? Somebody can go for Kinky. And even Kinky, there's what? There's Fanti Kinky, there's Ga Kinky, a lot of different Kinky, right? Somebody can substitute it for Etel, which is a form of Banku. No, so somebody can substitute it for Eba. Somebody can substitute it for some. You get it. So far as these things are there, they are threats to my Banku business, because anytime I give a price the customer does not want, he can easily switch to these substitutes, and that can affect my profitability. People cannot afford Ovaltine. They'll go and buy this way, or they'll go and buy Milo. True or false? People cannot afford Pepsodent. They'll go and buy the local one. It's a substitute, and it can affect your profitability. Makes sense? The last force is the extent of competitive rivalry, right? So competitive rivalry. How would your existing competitors react, right? Remember, if you come into an industry or you're already there, if the level of competition is tight, it can make you lose money. Because, for instance, if there are things like price wars, right? People are trying to be innovative, right? Innovative competitors. Always bring in buy one, get one free. Then that's one will do, this one will do Yetriko, this one will buy Vodafone Red, this one will do this, right? We call that strategy as a ploy. They always anticipate their competitors' actions. If you're in that type of industry, then you always be less profitable because you spend so money defending your market share. So most of the time, when we get to the BCG matrix, we will understand more of that. But literally, these are the models. I told you I'll teach you the models. I've taught you the three main models for environmental analysis. The rest are all mostly theory. This is where there's a little bit of practicality. If you have a question, you can ask me. So we've seen the 5 forces. We have strategic group analysis. And when we come to strategic groups, we are looking at that small group within the industry that cannot compete with. Yes, together they can compete, but they are so small to you. So let's see. We have the big 4 accounting firms, right? So let's see, they are here. So we have KPMG, we have Deloitte here, we have PwC here, and we have Ernst & Young here, right? Then we have these small Quancheng audit firms, right? Who are also your A, B, we have C, we have D, right? Now, can you proudly say that these ones are competitors of these big 4? Are they competitors?
No,
Why?
because they are smaller in nature, and then their past records cannot speak for themselves as compared to this. But when you look at KPMG, Deloitte and Co., they are big organized audit institutions.
Yes.
And that's what I see.
That is exactly it. So the smallest group in the industry who also have their own competitive advantage, they also have their own markets they operate in, right? Sometimes you need to still analyze them. Don't say I'm big, so they are not important. For all you know, one may be rising to some level like you. Do you agree? Do you agree? So sometimes you have to look at the other small groups in the organization. What if all of a sudden you didn't take note? You say, oh, they can't compete with me. Then all of a sudden A and D merged. Then they came to merge with B. Then ultimately they merged with C. All of a sudden they are bigger than all 4 of you because they have resources. And what do you do then? You thought they were too small. So don't ever underestimate an opponent. Do you all agree with me?
Yes.
Okay, then we come to scenario plans. Now, scenario plans are so simple. So I don't ever think they are going to examine it, but you have to know. Sometimes you have to make a set of scenarios on what you think will happen in the organization, will happen in your environment based on what happened in the past or what is happening now. So for instance, let's say, you see, government has planned that is going to what? Close galamsey in the country, and you are a hotel, and a lot of galamsey operators patronize your service. You know, government has not passed that law yet, but you can create scenarios where, assuming government creates that law, what would you do? It's a scenario plan. Does that make sense? So you create all sort of plans and see what the outcome will be in the future. If that thing should happen, what will be the impact on your 5 forces? What will be your impact on your pestle, your diamond, all that, right? It's mostly what we call scenario plans, but mostly we use pestle to do it. Look at the nature of the environment or how the environment will change in the future if these scenarios come into.
You say
Pardon? Is he understood?
Yes, sir.
Yes, so that is it. That's environmental analysis. So we looked at stakeholder analysis, and I gave you 2 models earlier, right? The stakeholder position and importance matrix, and then the Mendelow's stakeholder power and interest matrix. So that is it. That's the external environment. Now, once you have been able to do your external environment to understand your opportunities and your threats that you have in the environment, the next area is to look at what you have within the organization, right? That's your strategic capability. So you're looking at your resources, core competencies, right? And then as part of your exam, you need to know how to diagnose strategic capability. Meaning, I told you that anytime you are looking at diagnosing strategic capability, you are looking at how valuable your resources are, not so. You are looking at how inimitable, is it easy for people to copy or not? You are looking at what? Rarity, is it rare? Does it have organization-wide support? These are the things that you are looking at. Now, when you have all these things, it tells you that nobody can compete with you because you have safeguarded your resources, right? So that is what we call a resource audit. Okay, so you can analyze your financial resources, your physical resources, your human and intangible assets. You can go this way, you can use something we call the 9M model, okay? So we can use the 9M model to what? Conduct a resource audit. So what is the 9M model of resource audits? I want to show you the resource, the 9M model. Please, I hope you are learning something. I'm literally teaching you case study. Do you know that?
Yes.
Okay, so let's see. I don't know if you can see my screen. Let's increase. Nice. I don't want to summarize this page. Oh, if I don't want any consulting. Enjoy me. Okay, so let's see. The checklist categorizes an organization's resources into 9 categories, each of which, as you might have guessed, starts with the letter M. So we are saying that, okay, you can do a resource audit to see the nature of your resources, right? So we can look at materials. Who are the organization's suppliers? Does the organization have good working relationship with them? Are they reliable and responsive? Do they provide quality input? How much do they cost? Do they have spare capacity? Where are they located? Now, all these things can help you diagnose whether you are doing well or you are not. For instance, if we know the organization suppliers, you do not have good working relationship with them, that means this might end up increasing their bargaining power, right? They may give you goods and services at exorbitant prices. They are not going to give you credit, right? This can impact your internal performance, true or false. So you see, you analyze all these things to see whether the organization is doing well with its resources. So there's a resource audit. You are analyzing the resources. And at the end of the day, the conclusion is whether the resources meet the VRIO criteria, which I just gave, right? So we can also use the VRIO framework, the VRIO framework, to analyze whether an organization's resources are valuable. Like here, materials. Are the materials valuable? Are they rare? Are they inimitable? Can you easily copy? Let's say if I have had a 30-year relationship with my supplier, can you easily copy this? Can you easily copy this?
No.
You can't, right? Meaning this is a very valuable relationship. It is rare. You cannot copy, and it has organization-wide support. So it has met the viral criteria, right? So that's what we're looking for. Right. Very simple, right? So you see, things are panning into perspective. So we have machinery. What kind of plant, equipment, and other tangible assets are used by the organization to turn raw materials into finished products? What is the age, condition, and utilization rate of these assets? Remember, old machines mean that what? You are spending so much money to maintain them. Maintenance costs are going to go high. You see, I go and check the financial statement. If expenses are increased, I said this might be due to the increase in maintenance costs. However, increasing or affecting what? The asset turnover of the company. Asset turnover has seen a decrease from 2 pesos per 1 CD invested to what? 0.9 pesos per 1 CD invested, signifying that the company has seen a reduction in its operating capacity. You write this, the examiner will be like, wow, this guy knows what he's talking about. Yes, you do. You're an accountant. And people they don't link their answers to the scenario. I wonder. Okay, so that's machinery makeup. What is the culture and structure of the organization, their intangible assets? What do they possess, their patents, brands, and goodwill? Can you easily copy them? If you cannot copy them, then you have a strong resource. Your management, what are their skills, experience level, vision of senior management? What is the management structure and prospect for career projection and progression? Are management loyal to the organization? Using last night's case study as an example, Nikai Shito. If somebody leaves right now, he can easily go and spill out your what do we call it? Your secret recipe. Is that how your management is? Are they loyal to the organization? Are there programs in place to align management incentive to the long-term interests of the organization? Or the management can create their own wealth because of bonuses they can lie. You get it? So you look at all these factors. So using the 9M alone, you can come up with so many issues. So we have management information, your market, you operate, your customer segment, your men and women, which is manpower, your methods that you use. Are you capital intensive or labor intensive? Are your activities performed in-house or they are outsourced, right? So last night, outsourcing came, they just changed it and asked you for shared management teams. It's still outsourcing. Then money, right? So you're looking at your cash position. Cash is the lifeblood of business and profit is the heart. It's cash that we want. Without the blood, the heart itself cannot work, right? So it's cash. So your organization's cash position, I go to the balance sheet, I look at the cash. It has changed from 20 million to 50 million. I want to pursue an investment of 80 million. It's not enough. So I cannot do internal development. I have to look for sources of finance. You start thinking about the sources of finance that you can get and talk about them, right? Short-term, long-term, then you're good to go. What's your credit period? Is this something that we can work with? What's your working capital cycle? What kind of short-term and long-term financing do you have access to? What's your debt to asset ratio? What are your investment plans and how would they be funded? You see? So all these things end up helping you assess how the organization's resources are managed or diagnosed. Okay. Did you learn something? Because the syllabus is broad, I have to speed up. You know, this is not an actual, it's not a full class. So once you have been able to do all this, remember that I told you that you must know your skills. And the skills that we want to attain competitive advantage is what we call the core competence. So let's look at a resource matrix, okay? So let's understand what we mean by strategic capability or capability. Anytime we say somebody is capable, say, hey, this guy is capable, what does it mean? It means that the guy has resources, okay? And he has skills to manage those resources, right? That's what we call capability, okay? So if you have resources and you have skills to manage those resources, we say you are capable. So capability is the sum total of resources and competencies. That's what we call capabilities, okay? So in that case, if I should do a resource or competence matrix, we can know how we can attain what? Strategic capability. So let me put it here like this. Okay. Resource and competence matrix. So let me divide it into 4 and then put here can be copied, cannot be copied. Okay. So if, let me put here resource, let me put here competence or skill, right? So if you have a resource which can be copied, meaning anybody at all in the industry can have, it means it's a basic resource, right? Basic resource, meaning right now, if I want to go into teaching, I can just go and get a board, get a marker, start teaching. It's basic. Anybody can do it. Skill, threshold competence, right? A basic competence is a threshold competence. It means anybody going to that industry can easily copy and do. At least you can have an ICA textbook and just recite or read a textbook as a way of teaching. That is a threshold competence. Anybody can teach, right? But as to the understanding of the student, that is the problem. So that's just a threshold competence. But if you want to achieve competitive advantage, you must have a resource that cannot be copied. It becomes a unique resource, right? Unique resource. For instance, a lecturer who has many awards, he has taught for a certain number of years, he has marked, these are things people cannot easily copy, making you a unique resource. Core competencies, right? The lecturer has experiences, he has ability to break things down, he has taught in so many industries. These things help you. He has practical experience. All these things become core competencies because not anyone can easily copy. Uses the latest technology, right? He's not using Excel to type. He's writing on screen. You see, these things are all core competencies which people cannot easily copy. So unique resources plus core competencies should give us strategic what? Capabilities. That's what you are looking for to actually become the best in the industry. So basically, this is all about strategic capability, which you have to understand. I hope it's well understood. So apart from that, another way you can diagnose your activities is to look at your value system and your value chain. The value chain encompasses the activities that the organization is doing, both primary and secondary. The primary are the original activities you do. So like buying stock, which you call inbound logistics, buying and storing stock, inbound logistics. Then when you store the stock, it goes into production. We call that operations. Once you operate, you finish, you must package them and deliver to the customers. We call that outbound logistics. Once you have been able to do that, marketing and sales will come into play. Then finally, some companies after sales, they still contact you. We call that after sales service, right? Now, all these things have some things that support them. For instance, you need a good infrastructure, right? Your systems, your processes that support all this. You need good raw material base. You need good factories. You need good factory layout. You need good staff. Also, all those things form part of infrastructure. Then you need human resources to work in all these departments. You need to plan and train them. You need technology, right, to manage all these things. And finally, you need what? Procurement, because you need to buy raw materials, right? Now, all these secondary activities help to support these activities to end up creating what? Value for the customer. And that value that you create is the margin, which comes from the price that you charge to the customer. Being able to operate well means you can reduce cost per unit, and reducing cost per unit means you can charge the reduced price and still make your margin. That's what value chain means. So all you have to do in the exam is to look at activities that you can eradicate and activities that you can maintain or activities you can outsource to help you still achieve competitive advantage, right? So that's the value chain for you. And why the value chain? Because it can create linkage and coordination among these various activities or the various departments, and it can create synergy. Remember, 1 + 1 is equal to 5. That is synergy. The combined efforts of 1 or 2 or more people is what? Greater than their individual efforts combined. That is it. So that was environmental analysis. So the next area is application of strategic models. And this is where students always go gaga. They go mad because they don't learn. So this is actually strategic choices. So everything we've discussed so far was all about strategic analysis. And look how broad that was. That means you have a lot of work to do. So we come to applying key strategic models. And for key strategic models, they said we should be able to apply and appraise key models available for generation of strategic options. So we have Porter's generic strategies and the strategic clock. These ones help you to identify and evaluate competitive advantage. So we have 3 main strategies, okay? But these 3 main strategies that Michael Porter came with, they are competitive strategies. To compete in any industry, you need 2 main strategies, right? But these 2 main strategies can branch out into other strategies. Actually, they say 3 because the last one is a niche strategy, right? Which is another strategy on its own. But if I should draw a generic strategy matrix, you see, I like matrices a lot, yes. it makes everything easy. So if I should draw this like this again, and just bring low cost, right? So you have two major strategies, low cost or differentiation. Yeah. So low cost means you want to go with low cost. Differentiation means you are bringing a different breed of product, right? A different kind of product. It should be different than anybody's own. So if you want to go to low cost or you want to go differentiation, you have two main markets you are producing or working in. It could be what? A broad market segment, okay? Or it could be what? A narrow market segment or simply a niche market, right? Niche market means a narrow segment. Just focus on a few people. So if you want to start any business, you may think that, okay, I want to sell at a low cost to everybody, okay? So then if you do that in a broad market, you become a cost leader, okay? So we call that cost leadership strategy. If you do differentiation in a broad market and command a price premium, we call that a broad differentiation strategy, which we simply know as differentiation, right? But when you focus and sell to only a small group of people, we call that a niche strategy. So a focus strategy. So this may be a cost focus strategy. And then we have a differentiation word, focus strategy. So now people say three strategies because focus, they put it together and say, okay, the third one is focus strategies. Now you should know that in actual sense, majority of successful companies lie in between. They get stuck in the middle. So we call that stuck in the middle strategy. Okay, so it's a sort of hybrid strategy. They are stuck in the middle. So this is it actually. Now this one was actually combined, I get it, by Bowman into a strategic clock, and his clock groups it into strategic perceived benefits that the customer is going to get and the price. So the combination of the benefit the customer is going to get and the price or the cost will lead us generating some particular strategies which look just like this. It could be low frills, low cost, it could be hybrid, it could be differentiation or focus differentiation, right? Or risky margins and the other ones which are what do we call it? Strategies which are bound to fail. So these are models that you have to learn and know. Okay, so go back to our syllabus. So we have to look at concentration strategies. Concentration strategies are what we call intensive strategies. In actual sense, anytime a business wants to succeed or grow, it has some growth strategies it needs to follow, right? It's either you are concentrating or intensifying your activities that you're already doing, which we call intensification or concentration strategies, or you are diversifying. So it's either intensification or diversification. And even within diversification strategies, we have integration strategies, right? Which are part of diversification strategies. So Ansoff came out and put all under one umbrella, right? As growth strategies. So you see, we have concentration strategies. So we have what we call market penetration, doing what you do already. Okay, we have product development. We have market development. Okay, these are concentration strategies. Then diversification means selling in a different industry. It may be a similar industry. So we call it concentric diversification or simply related diversification. Then we have unrelated diversification or what we call conglomerate diversification, right? So you must know the advantage and disadvantage. Even within this concentric diversification, that's where we have the integration, which we have what? Horizontal integration and vertical integration. With vertical integration, we have backward integration and we have forward integration, which happens to be what they examined last night as part of your growth strategies. Okay, so that's just by the way. Then we have some companies which may not be doing well and they would want to go defensive, right? Either leave the market, cut some of their non-performing activities, sell some parts of their businesses or go outside the market, right? Or close down, liquidation strategy. These are what we call defensive or harvesting strategies or retrenchment strategies, okay? These ones are to close down the business. Then a business may combine any of these strategies to work, right? We call that what? The combination strategies, Okay. Now, when you finish, you now look at how to manage portfolio. So something like the BCG matrix, the Boston Consulting Group matrix, you must know the various products and the strategies to manage them. So when it comes to portfolio management, it's a huge part of your syllabus because it manages performance of your products and business units. So you need to know which products or services or businesses you have to build or grow, right? Or invest in. These are names of the same strategy. The ones you have to harvest, also take money from to invest elsewhere. The ones you have to hold or maintain their market position, and the ones you have to divest or sell, right? So this one we can call a selective investment, right? So we can have all this, right? These are the main strategies we use to invest in portfolios. And there are major portfolio matrices you have to understand before you set the paper. One is the Boston Consulting Group matrix, and then the product lifecycle matrix, the directional policy matrix, that's McKinsey and the electric business screen, the Shell directional policy matrix, the public service matrix. This has never been examined because they've never brought a public sector entity yet. Then we look at how to manage these portfolios as a corporate parent. So corporate parenting styles, then the asset portfolio display, or what we call the corporate parenting matrix. You get it? Hello, guys. Please give me some few minutes. I think the public sector, they needed me to say one or two things. So I'll be with you shortly. Is that okay? I hope that's okay.
Yes, please.
That's okay. Yes, that's okay.
Okay, so I'm back. So that was it. Who has any question for me, or we are all clear? So you see how broad this area is. The syllabus references a lot of material. And these are the areas where students have a lot of weaknesses. So after looking at corporate parenting, you look at Ansop's growth vector matrix, which combines your concentration and diversification strategies. Okay, so it's the growth vector. Then we have to look at how to manage international strategies. So we have to look at management orientation of the EPRG framework, the integration responsiveness matrix, which is the IR matrix, the 5 stages of globalization by Kenichi Ome. Okay. Then we have the 5 C's, which are part of 5 stages of globalization. Then we have to look at various methods that we can use to compete internationally, like exporting, going for joint ventures, going for licensing or franchising, strategic alliances, and operating wholly owned subsidiaries. Then after you've decided to pursue all these strategies, you can decide whether you want to do it with your own resources, which you call organic or internal development, or you want to do it together with what? Other persons, which we call what? External development, or using mergers and acquisition, right? So that is it. So last night, external development came in the form of outsourcing, right? You can work with someone else, but you outsource through shared management teams. That's what they brought, right? So incremental strategy, freewheeling opportunism, creative strategy, learning organizations, these are all ways that you can look at how organizations can perform in terms of pursuing a particular strategic method, right? Then when you finish, you know how to evaluate strategies. And evaluating strategies, we use suitability, acceptability, and feasibility. Okay, so please remember these ones. The next one is to look at what? Organizational structure, culture, and strategic change. What do you have to know here? When it comes to organizational structure, organizational design, you must know flat versus tall structures. A flat organization looks like this. So we have a boss, right? And then you see a lot of subordinates under him, right? There's a flat structure. So maybe this guy also has some subordinates under him. This guy has some subordinates under him. There's a flat structure. A tall structure has this. Let's say we have this guy here. He has 2 guys. This guy also has another 2 guys, and this guy has another 2 guys, like that. Okay, so there's a narrow span of control, but a longer scalar chain. Scalar chain is simply the number of hierarchies, right? The number of chains. And narrow span of control is the number of employees directly under a subordinate, under a manager. Okay, so that is it. So the flatter the organization, the larger or wider the span of control, and the lower or the narrower the scalar chain. But when it is a tall organization, it means that you have what? A narrow span of control and a wider or a taller scalar chain. That's why we call it tall organization or tall design. Okay, you have to understand this. Then you have to look at how responsibility, authority, and accountability flows within these organizational hierarchies. You have to look at the line organization, staff, and functional relationships. You have to look at organic versus mechanistic approaches. This is the contingent approach to organizational structure. Okay, so you have to know businesses which are in very fast environments, like the telecom industry. Every time things are changing, they mostly use organic structures. Then you look at stable environments, they use mechanistic approaches. Then we have differentiation and integration. You must understand it and how they fit into the organizational model. Role flexibility versus job specification, no bureaucracy and post-bureaucracy, empowerment versus control within an organization, centralization versus decentralization, which are all organizational relationships. And this is the common one that they are going to ask you questions on. These ones, yes, examinable, 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 somehow. But these ones are the most examinable areas which I've highlighted. So that is it. Resource sharing and collaborative working. Very important. Collaboration strategies. Okay, so that is it. So the next model has to do with what? The various types of organizational structures. And here you see the examiner told you exactly what they are going to ask you if this thing comes. These things come. They've told you, evaluate the what? Advantages and disadvantages. They've already told you advantages and disadvantages. I'm gonna catch out the data. You get it? So simple structures, you must know. A simple structure where there's just a boss and subordinates under him. Functional structures where you start having departments. Divisional structures where you have divisions which each have functional structures, right? You have matrix structures where One person reports to 2 or more bosses. We have corporate group structures, which have all these structures in them. Then hybrid or intermediate structures, which is a mix of either of these structures. You get it? So a typical example is, if you look at a simple structure, this is the boss, and these are the employees. Okay, functional structure. If you look at the board of directors, you come down, there's the CEO or the managing director. Then you have maybe finance department. You have production. You have R&D. You have IT. So there's a functional, right? Then you come to divisional or geographical structures. So if it is like that, you have the board of directors. Maybe I have what? Togo division. Maybe I have Ghana division, right? I have Singapore division. Now within Togo division, I have R&D, I have production, I have maybe finance. You get it? So some of the what do we call it? The structures fit into other structures. You get it? So that's it. And here, the examiner specifically tells you the advantages and disadvantages of both. So the syllabus itself guides you on what you have to provide. Then you come here. These are all collaboration strategies anyway. So you have shared services, shared management teams. These are all forms of outsourcing, pool budgets, where people pool their budgets together and pursue outsourcing, which is the basic term of outsourcing. But these ones are all some sort of outsourcing. So we share services. So let's see. We set up organization A here. We set up organization B here, right? There's an IT service here. So what we can do is that because we don't want to duplicate services, A and B will all contribute and get this IT company, right? And then the same IT service will be provided to both of them. So that's an example of shared management or shared services. Shared management teams, I outsource my money. Let's say I outsource these people, I know they are good with finance. So I outsource my finance to them, and they will outsource maybe production to us because you are good with production. So shared management teams. Simple. Right? Then we have consortia. When we create a consortium, we create a group of, it's like, what do we call it? A group of people who come together under one umbrella to pursue the same task, right? Sometimes it could be like a cartel. But consortia is greater. Okay. Then we have networks where we create various networks to share ideas and content and resources. They are all there. They are all examples of collaboration strategies, right? But as part of organizational structure, you have to learn these things, but sometimes we separate it, right? So here forms part of business plans. So business plans is a key part of your exam. A lot of people forget it. Business plan, look at business plans alone. Look at what is there. Sure, I'm scrolling. I'm still scrolling. Business plans, see. All these things are under business plans. And every data is there. Let's see what goes into business plans. First of all, we must know McKinsey's 7S framework. We must know Henry Mintzberg's theory of organizational design. That is, you have to look at the organizational stereotypes, and you have to look at the building blocks of every organization, the strategic apex, middle line, operating core, techno-structure, supporting staff, right? You have to evaluate and use business plans in strategy implementation. So alignment of service delivery with public communication plans. You have to look at the integration of operational and work plans. You have to look at how to align human resource plans and personal objectives, integration of budget assumptions, management of internal and external messages. All these things are mostly achieved with the use of KPIs and CSS. Then you establish plan programs, types of monitoring procedures, and key performance indicators. I told you from there, it's still the same. Now, when you are preparing a business plan, this is where it gets interesting. Look at the things you have to know. Using key performance indicators and CSFs, both qualitative, quantitative, developing a marketing and brand management approach involving qualitative and quantitative techniques. This marketing management. Risk management is part of business plans. Identification of risk, assessing risk impact, management and mitigation of risk. They've already given you. So in your exam, risk identification, assessment, and management is simply risk management overall, right? And this is what they want. So as part of risk identification, you need to know the various kinds of risk, and you can still use the PESTEL or the 5 forces that you learned to still identify risks. Because if you have an adverse PESTEL factor or 5 forces factor, it is a risk, remember. You can still use SWOT analysis, right? Which is the combination of your internal and external analysis, right? To do this identification, because if it's a threat or weakness, then it's a risk. Remember that. Then you now assess the risk impact. We assess risk impact by looking at two things: probability or likelihood of that risk, and impact of the risk, right? And that will help us manage or mitigate the risk. By merging these two, we can come up with a lot of strategies using TARA, or the 4T approach, right? So you can transfer the risk, accept the risk for what it is, you can reduce the risk to an acceptable level, or you can avoid the risk overall. If you are using 4T approach, yes, transfer. If you cannot transfer the risk, you tolerate the risk, which means you accept it. If you cannot, you treat the risk. If you cannot treat the risk, you terminate the risk. Right? So these are risk mitigation or avoidance strategies. However, there are other models like the Enterprise Risk Management Framework and the ISO 31000. And these things, ISO 31000 has been examined since the syllabus came, but the ISO 31000 has been examined by the Enterprise Risk Management Framework. I think it was examined once. It is yet to come again, so let's keep our fingers crossed. I wish it to come this diet for 8 marks. Okay, so that is it. So once you have been able to understand risk management, when you look here, it's about IT. So IT is very important. They are waiting for the right time to examine major part. They've examined bits and pieces. Like last night, they brought the information side. So what is the impact of information systems on organizations? Every organization requires information systems, and there are 3 levels of the organization, right? If I should go with Anthony's hierarchy, we have the strategic level of the organization, right, which is the board. We have the tactical level, which is the management, and we have the operational level, which is the staff who operate, right? Now, each of them have some information systems or softwares that they use to operate. Now, the strategic level uses executive information systems, right? They use executive systems. They use what we call, those who are experts like the, let's say, particular financial executive. He would need like expert systems, right? Then we have decision support systems that support their decisions that they take. Then we have tactical level. They use management information systems, right? So management information system, you know, that the QuickBooks and those accounting softwares you use, most of them are management information systems, right? Then we have the transactional processing systems. A part of those softwares could be transaction processing, the day-to-day entries that we make into those systems, right? They are all transaction processing, right? Now, the whole thing is, after you know all these things, each level of management has their importance on why they use these softwares. You must know the advantages and disadvantages of each type of software and the role that they play within the organization. Are we okay? This is what you have to, and be able to give examples like Excel. Excel is a key thing that can fit into all these depending on what you need to do. Pivot tables and other things depends whether it is used at the top level of management or is used at the middle level or is used at the lower level. Lower level, we can be entering cashier invoices and other things day to day, right? So these are basically what you need to understand. Then the relationship between them, right? We just talked about them. Then impact of these information technologies on the organization. So look at things like new development in information technology, mobile devices, cloud technology, big data, right? Then we look at the impact of e-commerce on organizations and cybersecurity and big data management. So apart from that, you must look at what human resource development, including recruitment and remuneration considerations, helping to prepare a schedule to meet objectives and tasks considered in the business plan. So you see, business plan is so broad. And when you look at it carefully, when you go up into the syllabus, when you sum everything up, business plans are like 40 marks. That's the secret. Business plans alone are like 40 marks. 40 marks. 40 solid marks alone come from business plan. You see how funny the thing is, but people do not pay attention. Very funny. Okay, so the syllabus reference F talks about the issues involved in formulation, organizations, financial strategy for a specified scenario. So here we have to look at financial strategy objective to look at the constraints on the various elements of financial strategy. You know them, the investment decision, financial decision, and then the dividend decision. However, there's risk management decision. But because risk is treated separately, we mostly do not look at that side in case study. Now, we must know stakeholder interests and their effect on financial strategy formulation and propose resolutions to handle stakeholder conflicts. And these stakeholder conflicts comes as a result of the financial executive imposing his risk attitude on them. So we have three types of risk appetites, or three types of risk attitude that you have, right? So you have somebody who is a risk seeker. He likes risk. Let's say the manager is a risk seeker, right? So he goes to take up an investment which is risky, but will bring a lot of money. But maybe the shareholders might be risk averse. Risk averse is somebody who does not like risk at all. Then we have risk neutral person who is neutral. He likes risk somehow. He likes some parts of risk. So you do not impose your risk behavior on your shareholders or your other stakeholders. It might lead to conflicts. This is one aspect that you have to know and understand. Then we have to be able to identify ethical problems in financial strategy and propose appropriate solutions. So here, most of the time, IFAX model will come into play where there's a financial enticement, bonuses and other things, and people would want to lie. Also, maybe do creative accounting or something. Like maybe they want to raise finance, they do not have money, but the accountant has created a fake cash forecast, right? And they're asking you to analyze the forecast. You get the idea. Then evaluate financial strategies in terms of financial and strategic objectives, including the consideration of the application of, you see, investment appraisal, very key. Lease or buy decisions, you must understand this. Working capital and liquidity management is there. International financial strategic management, including specific considerations for multinationals, how multinationals operate, dividend decisions, dividend capacity, transfer pricing, and risk management. Very, very interesting. Then treasury management, including management of risk relating to currency and interest rates. So these are all areas. The syllabus is so broad. And these areas, you see them small like that, they are very huge. Then once you finish, you look at, financing, short, medium, and long-term alternatives, methods of raising capital, new capital, gearing and capital structure, and then dividend policy. So far, dividend policy hasn't been examined yet. We are expecting it to be examined soon. Then you have to be able to forecast financing requirements for both short and long-term financing requirements. This is what we call financial plan. So far, IC has only asked one part of it, which is a cash forecast. But they have never asked financial plan yet. However, somewhere in 2009, ICA asked a student to prepare a financial plan. That was the only time they ever asked for financial plan. As of now, that's never come before, but it's in your syllabus. Forecasting finance requirements, working capital requirements, cash requirements, finance requirements, debt requirements. They can ask you. Then you can evaluate alternative methods of financing, incorporating the impact of the tax and select appropriate financial plans. So sometimes they'll give you different methods of financing and you are going to implement it, right? You are going to look at, okay, when I go for debt, what is going to be the implication on the financial statement? When I want to go for equity, what will be the implication? When I want to go for lease, what will be the implication? Then we will be able to prepare a financial plan and evaluate the impact of uncertainty in the plan. That means there's a possibility that ICA would, so far as you see uncertainty, that means you should be expecting expected values, or what we call certainty equivalent, meaning that you are going to get a sum total of some probability times some cash flow. Okay, it's there. It's there in your syllabus. It's obvious. You get the idea. So that is it. That's that part. Then we must be able to describe and explain the meaning of corporate governance frameworks. So the meaning and importance of corporate governance, you must know. The theoretical aspects, that's the theories, agency theory, stewardship theory, transactional cost theory, stakeholder theory. Some people see the exam, they are not aware of this. Then when you finish, you have to know the role of directors. So the directors and the board, their structure, the role of non-executive, the role of directors in corporate governance, how to pay directors. You have to look at the role of institutional investors, disclosure and corporate governance, internal controls, and the role of audit. Then you need the OECD principles, which comes with the ICGN principles. Then you must be able to explain and apply the processes of improving governance. So that would include the role of the accountant, the governance framework, and the best practice, Then apply, evaluate, and recommend actions for a specified scenario. The principles contained in the good practice guidance, including specific consideration of IPA Code of Ethics for professional accountants. So that brings us to the end of our syllabus walkthrough. Any specific questions? Was it interesting? Did you learn some new things? On a scale of 1 to 100, where will you rank it? And what are the things you would want to know? Actually, classes start on Monday, effectively. Case study starts. Those who are interested, the link will be shared for you to register. You'll be contacted by admin to make the necessary procedures, or the necessary steps should be taken. If you have any question, I'm open. We have some few minutes before we call it a night. Yes.
That one.
Yes, boss.
I said you have read that one. In fact, you have made things a little simplified. So God bless you. And we are praying that we will be with you so that we will cross over.
I'm always at your service. Once you are ready, just give me the go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
Can I have your contact number?
Yeah, sure. 0243 443.
0243.
And actually, if you want any study material,
0243.
as for me, pass rate is always high every time. ICA, CIT, STEMA, ACA, everything. So always pass rate is high. So if you are interested.
Can we take the number?
Yes, it's on the screen.
Oh, I don't know. I can't see it. So I don't know what is wrong with my screen.
0243.
Okay.
3934.
0243.
44.
Okay, 44.
34.
3934.
Or you can use 020-849-1171. This is the main school line though. But if you call and you could reach me, fine. But this is my personal line.
Hello, I want to, hello, sir.
Yes, boss.
I also want to express my appreciation for the time you spent when walking us through the syllabus.
I'm grateful.
And I think your presentation is also above the level. So grateful for that. We'll contact what I would like to know the times table.
Okay.
So I could actually pick the registration. So once you have your number, I'll call you by tomorrow for us to pick it from there.
That is fine, sir. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know for strategic studies. I mean, I don't know your pass rate, but then, I mean, the little that I've seen, I think
Pass
that
rate has always been high. So okay, some diets have 30 people sitting and all 30 make it. Some diets you have about 60 people sitting, sometimes very high. Like I have had
that's
over 90 people sit, and at least I could get 60 passes. It's not bad.
Yeah, it's not there. Okay, so and then the name of your teaching center?
Prof's Training Solutions.
Prof, okay.
You've heard.
All right. So, yes, okay, so I'll give you a call tomorrow. I really want to just write there. So I want to just write it once and get it. So I'm level 2 pupils actually. I really want to get it.
We run all courses. We run all courses. I run CIT, I run ICE, every course.
I'm level corporate reporting and static custody.
Then you are welcome.
I really want to write and wash my hand on this capacity.
This time you wash your hand. But you see, I have one problem with students. They start with the classes with zeal, as if they are ready. But 2 months thereabouts. Oh, and maybe you see my thing. The thing about my classes is I will be obvious. Now I want to tell everybody the truth. I hide the key details in the main class, not the intervention. So those who attended class and paid attention and did assignments, they always don't come back. But those who you give assignment, they don't do. They are only interested in what you say in class. Then I hide them in the assignment, of course. So if you listen to me in class, then you don't expect to come back because I hide the techniques in the class and questions and mocks and other things.
All right.
Prof, this one there, I bet you because one of your model rights there was techniques in it and it came. So but I hope you run money rights for strategic case study too, because your CRD excellent.
I do money rights for all courses, but
yes, because I've joined yours.
yes. Somebody was asking about special class. Okay, so case study, we have two classes. We have the general class or the normal class, and we have the special class. Now, the difference between normal class and special classes is like small and large or jumbo size pizza, right? This one comes with extra things, right? And VIP treatment. It's like paying VIP and enjoying cold room and just sitting in the lounge. So you decide which one you want. Remember, VIP comes with VIP